Sippers. Where's my phone? I cannot find my phone. Hey, T Sippers, come on in, come on in. I was trying to listen to some stuff. I'm listening to my ear, and I don't know where I laid the phone down there. Hold on. I'm listening to the Lion Trump in my ear. Hold on. Congress just. Okay, hey y'all, hey. Oh my goodness. Let's pop it off. Hey Joe. Let's get caught up, child. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Every day I mean it's something. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Let's go. Let's listen. Then I'm going to pop on over to our boys. Hear what they got to say about it. Hey, David. Hi, David. And Belinda. Let's go.
It's 4 o'clock in New York. So what does the president sitting in the mid-30s in terms of public approval writing a wave of rebukes from inside his own political coalition do to sort of turn things around for himself?
Did she say
If you
mid-30s?
get to exonerate the most violent insurrectionists who were convicted of seditious conspiracy on January 6th, then you win. In an exercise that increasingly reads more like The Onion
Department
than
of
Real
Justice
News,
moved to
Donald Trump
erase
today moved
January
to clear
6
12 leaders of the
seductions.
Oath Keepers and Proud Boys,
Oh, the Proud
convicted
Boys.
of seditious conspiracy against the
Sed-
United States of America. In the
Oh.
words of Congressman Jamie
So they
Raskin,
trying
it
to
turns the
erase what
Department of
happened.
Justice into,
They're trying to
quote,
rewrite
in-house
history
counsel for the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys.
again.
While Donald Trump commuted the sentences of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys on day one of his second term, what the Trump Justice Department is asking
And they
for
all
is to
back in
erase
jail
the guilty verdict
for
and
child
dismiss the
SCX
charges
charges.
with prejudice. A dismissal with
You
prejudice
know,
prevents
it's
the government from
child
bringing the cases again.
SH.
Congressman Jamie Raskin calls it, quote, an appalling and dangerous turn of events, adding, quote, the same DOJ that prosecuted these men and secured their criminal convictions
Sealed it, removed them, got them, removed, got some out of jail, pardon. He already talking about a clean. Something's going on, y'all. It's just moving funny. It's just really moving funny. And he already talking about a clean, a mass, a pardon. Why? What? You already know what they doing is illegal. Yeah. You already know what you're doing and what you have them doing is illegal. Now, I hope that the prosecutors are smart enough, and I know you are, to charge them with state crimes instead of federal. Whichever one he cannot pardon, That's what you hit them with however many counts you need to hit them with to make it be worth our while. Hey, Max to the boogie. Max to the boogie. Lord, me and my sound effects. Yeah, I mean, I hope they're going to be smart enough to make it, add up in ways that he can't do nothing about it. It'll look good, I guess, to them to say, oh, he pardoned me, but it don't count. Yeah, that's what I want. I want you to say you did it, but knowing good and dang well, it ain't gonna count. Yeah, that takes away you rubbing it in our face that they can get away with murder. No, they can't. No, they can't. Yeah, no. We ain't going. And why you so scary? Why you gotta have Pakistan? Why you sure doing some crazy stuff? And although, hey, the kickback queen, hey, Mamo 3 seconds. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, I mean, although you want to make it seem like you Mr. Tough Guy. Mr. Tough Guy. Who do you think you are, Mr. Tough Guy? Yeah, like everybody's scared of you. I said do it, and I said do it now, and they like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what's happening. Why Pakistan going to talk for you? Huh? Why is Pakistan doing talks for you? What is that about, Mr. Tough Guy? Who do you think you are? Ain't nobody buying that. I'm trying to get that back. Come on. Yeah. Right here. Uh-huh. Why you gotta have a negotiator? Why is Pakistan? I mean, all of this shit is staged, y'all. I just want y'all to know it's staged. We talking about a new world order where they all trying to get paid and be a part of. But I don't know how you gonna trust somebody who don't never, ever follow through with their word on what they said they gonna do. You never do it. Yeah. Pakistan, why are you talking for Trump? I thought the only person he trusted, he need help real bad. Everybody else ignoring him. He offered to give you a little something on the backhand side. Oh, you think the check gonna clear? Did he pay you up front? Did he pay you with something other than them Bitcoins? Yeah. You better make sure that check clears. Because he is a renegger. He will renege on TV. Oh, you caught it. Renegger, like playing cards, when they play off. Knowing good and dang well they got that set in their hand, at least one of them, and they throw off trying to cheat. Yeah, you better make sure that check clear. Not clear. Clear. Because he's a renegger. Ooh, baby, I used to love catching folk reneging. Renege! Get your ass up. Yeah. He's a renegger. He play off when he cheat. He trying to cheat. He throw off like he ain't got what he really do. Hoping that you don't catch it toward the end. Yeah, your president of the United States is a renegger. I didn't call him out of his name. I mean, he is what he say we are. But he will renege and play off and act like he don't have, like folk be acting like they broke. Knowing good and dang well they got a whole bunch of money. Yeah. Said they was gonna do something. Said they had to. And then when push came to shove and you needed that, but they offered you, then they turn around and talk about, oh no, I'm broke. Oh no, I'm broke. They reneged. Yeah. They word is not they bond. Yeah, so why you got to have somebody go and speak for you? Huh? Yeah, your talk ain't talking now. Yeah. Thank you, the kickback queen for that 100 keeping that 100. That's how I look at that 100. Auntie Phoebe keeping it 100. You gotta say it like that. You gotta say it like that. Can you say it like that? Drag them O's out. 100. And then stop that. Auntie P, did you drink that happy juice tonight? Did I drink I think I did drink my happy juice. But anyway, let's go. Let's hear what they gotta say, baby, cause he got folks speaking for him, and over here he trying to vacate them January 6 people. Why? You already know. You already know what they was doing was illegal. You really thought that you was God. And it's ironic that you put on that costume on Easter. They waited a whole week and a half to put that out there, that you was playing like you was God on Easter. Even the Easter bunny looked at you upside your head like foolishness. Foolishness. You done lost your mind. And baby, they said them Italians is they setting it up. That's why that man was on that golf course with that big old shabuka. Yeah, you scared as hell. Them threats are coming, ain't they? Yeah, but carry on. Let's hear this. I hope this don't go through, because let's go, y'all.
Beyond any reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
He's now asking a court to what, quote,
asking the court to remove it.
turn of events, adding, quote, the same DOJ that prosecuted these men and secured their criminal convictions beyond any reasonable doubt, is now asking a court to whitewash their crimes.
Whitewash their crimes.
Never led the insurrectionist mob that beat, crushed indoors, wounded, injured, and hospitalized 140 of our law enforcement officers, disfiguring.
They want to whitewash.
God,
God.
These motions are part of Donald Trump's.
And they say the immigrants and the darker skinned people of the 50 Shades of Brown, yeah, the ones that's the chosen ones are the most dangerous criminals? Baby, y'all, I ain't never seen nothing like y'all. I mean, y'all don't watch. You don't. When people come in from foreign countries, a lot of times I hear y'all tell them to stay away from the darker shades of the 50 Shades of Brown. I'm like, no, you want them to stay away from us, because if you get the right one or two, they gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, I want them to stay close to you, because in a minute, y'all going to flip the script on them and make them feel like, they done you a favor. So, you bend over and let daddy see what, Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Ain't that what them old nasty uncles and shit used to say back in the day? Bend over, let uncle see what, yeah. Bend that, what? Oh, okay. Well, that's what they gonna plan to do. You do know that's what they do. Stay away from them over there. We trying to eliminate them, because they chosen. And we don't want them to know just how chosen they are. Just like we don't want them to know that there really is money, reparations, but we done hid them reparations and all that money so far down and way back in the back office in the drawer that we no longer use. We got it sealed, and we don't want them to know we got it. We hoping that they don't know it and just let it go, so that we can use that money like we use everybody else. Do y'all know that they saying Social Security they don't use our Social Security money? They playing all these games cause the money just ain't there. Y'all know that? Yeah, they can make money whenever they want to, but they making that money whenever they want to. They got laws in the U.S. about not criticizing the political Israel, because the state of Israel is just a political movement. It don't have nothing to do with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I know we know that by now. So why do we can't We can't complain about political movements, political injustice. So in Florida, you can lose everything you have by talking about the state of Israel political. Yeah, because they want us to continue to be blind to things that are right in front of our eyes. How can you be a devilish cult but want people to believe that they can't say nothing about your demonic actions because you name your state after Jacob? You name your stolen land after Jacob. What? Well, we ain't been saying it like that. We ain't been knowing. Is that what you said? Let me take this earpiece out of my ear so I can hear my, Yeah, so because we ain't been claiming it correctly all this time, how dare us name it as it is correctly today? Is that what you're telling me? Once I start with the lie or acting like we don't know it's a lie, we got to stick to the fake news from now on. Oh, so when he says to us, if he keeps saying it more than once, 2 times, or 3, it is what he said it is, whether it's a lie or not. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, no, dog. That ain't how that work. That ain't how that work, playboy. Little boy. Yeah, boy. That ain't how that work. That's why I don't allow them to come over here lying. No, we gonna tell the truth and shame the devil. Ain't that what your mama, your mama ain't never say that? Yeah, you ain't never heard the church folk? Oh, you didn't go, you really wasn't paying attention. Oh, okay, well, they say tell the truth, shame the devil. And we gonna tell the truth over here. The truth is gonna make us wiser, and it's gonna set us free. Cause the state of Israel is not even a country. You know, they try to slide that in there. Yeah, it ain't a country. Now you trying to make it be a old nasty man's country club. Yeah, that's what you trying to do. Cause that's what your big pappy told you. That's what. Oh, he's still talking to you. Was your grandpappy? Was he one of them Zionists too? Hell, you don't know what you are. I heard somebody say you still hopeful that God will forgive you. But baby, after that stunt that you did the other day, playing with God and the Holy Spirit, saying that I am God, and you have healing powers, baby, I just don't know. I don't know. In all my fussing, I was still hopeful for your little orange reddish ass. But you just don't know when to stop. And now you got somebody going over there begging, crying, and slinging snot for you. Yeah. Are you going to move him out the way? If he's able to accomplish something, push him out the way and say, I did it. Are you going to pull a yellow beezy? And said, I did it all by myself. What? Is that what you planning on doing? How you in the dead? The spirit, you got a whole bunch of spiritual folk after you. How is the spirit of Epstein doing for you? Sling a snot. Baby, that hood will come out, wanted Denise. Baby. Crying and slinging snot. Yeah, I said it. Sure did. and was about to say, and eating it sometimes too. You know how it go with boys. Hell, you be like, boy, go get you some tissue and go blow your nose. What you doing? Don't you feel that shit dripping down your nose? What in the world? Where you get that shit from? Yeah. Now you done started shit. Bibi Netanyahu really ain't here He only heard spirit, I guess, and I know it's evil. I don't believe that's him. I don't believe that's him. You moved a little different. Yeah, when he was feeding you in, yeah, and you and this new cat, y'all just not seeing eye to eye. And y'all not seeing eye to eye because he was never privy to you and BB's deals. Yeah, and you can't tell him everything because you don't know if you can trust him. And he for dang sure knows that he can't trust you. Yeah, that's why he don't be listening to you. Yeah, now BB, Netanyahu, he'll do his own too. But this new cat, this interim cat that's filling in, the replacement, he not, I don't like you like that, partner. I don't trust you, player. Yeah, you don't know, your checks don't clear. I need cash. Yeah. Then you steal some of them gold bars. I need some gold bars, and I need to be able to test this gold to make sure it's real gold. Cause you know you slick with it. You con and you renege on everybody you do business with. I know Pam Bondi mad as hell. If she was one of them little girls that y'all, did what y'all did, and you promised her this, and she just hang on in there with you. Let me do what I do. This is a part of my, you've been with me for a long, long time, and I'm going to put you in high places, and yeah, you're going to be able to, yeah, you're going to see the fruits of your, yeah. And then you fired her. I know she's swinging in the air. Ooh, I know she's swinging in the air. And I know she mad as hell at me because I got the picture. Every time I play that picture, baby, that video come back with some type of problems. They be like, Auntie Fee, quit trying to slide that shit up in there. They got to read, y'all. They got to read that every time I play it or show it, they got to read. And it sends out some senses. Yeah, they done sent the picture, showed them when she play this shit. Don't strike her, just take it down. Tell her we got to have that. Tell her we need that as evidence. Yeah, she one of them kids, allegedly. And he fired her. Yeah. But let's carry Auntie Fee. Oh, I wasn't supposed to tell them I knew what they was doing. Oh, I can't stand playing dumb, y'all. Y'all ain't figured that shit out yet. I can't stand playing dumb. I just can't stand that shit. I can't stand it on YouTube. I can't stand it in real life because the longer you let people know, or you don't let them know that you know what they doing, the more they think they got over on you. The longer you let it go on and just sit back and watch them, how they move, what they doing. They think they done got over. Like they done slid one or two past you because you ain't said nothing. Yeah, no, I can't do that. I can't wait to catch somebody I know doing some trifling shit behind the scene and I can put them people in their lives. Auntie, I'm going to put them people in their life. Yeah, I'm going to put them people in their life. And it ain't shit they going to be able to say to me. I'm going to act like I don't know them. I'm going to act like I don't see, me no sabe English. I'm going to put my hand on my eyes like, oh, I cannot see you with my good eye. I'm going to do all type of crazy shit. I'm going to play them the way they thought they was playing me. And they better hope that the Lord up above say, girl, let's stop. That's not right. You better hope he stopped me. You better hope he chin checked me spiritually. Because, baby, if not, I'm going to play just as dumb as you thought that you was playing with me. And I'm going to move on. Thank you, Jolena, for the sparkers and the 100. Keeping it 100, baby. Auntie Fee going to keep it 100. Got to. Let's listen to this and we're going to move on. And, Yes, ma'am. Gotta keep it 100, baby girl. Let's go.
Continuing campaign to placate and curry favor with the extreme right, which acts as his private
Publio
sworn
calls for
militia.
peace unity as
If that's
Trump
not enough
advances.
for
Keep
you, if you're
objecting
not
him.
disgusted yet, Todd Blanche, who now runs DOJ after Donald Trump fired Pam Bondi, says you should be happy about all of that. Happy to see Donald Trump use DOJ like this to punish Trump's political adversaries and critics and reward his allies. Watch.
So he is somebody who has high expectations for his cabinet and for this administration. It's not just the Department of Justice, it's in every single area. And so that type of communication from
Oh
President
my
Trump
God, I
should
can't
make
with the
every
lies.
American happy. Because it means that there's an executive, a chief executive, that is making sure
Hi,
every one
Timothy.
of his cabinet members are working as hard as they should.
The new 2200X
So
is a
far,
total
so
game
good.
changer. It's got 39% more power and recharges.
And you should be happy. Just as alarming as Todd Blanche telling you you should be happy
They want
about
us
how Trump
to
is
continue
using
to be
DOJ,
naive.
you should know he's also using it to harass Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Watch some of that.
But I think the Federal Reserve building is just as bad. And so whether it's incompetence, corruption, or both, I think you have to find out. I really do. I think you have to find out.
So you're not going to drop the probe?
No, I'm not playing. I have to find out.
And he said he's not leaving if,
Well, then I'll have to fire him, okay? If he's not leaving on time, I've held back firing him. I've wanted to fire
Who are we
him.
talking
But I
about?
hate to be controversial, you know? I want to be...
Well,
then I'll have to fire him.
not going to drop the probe.
No, I'm not. Competence, corruption, or both. I think you have...
Watch some of that.
But I think the Federal Reserve building is just as bad. And so whether it's incompetence, corruption, or both, I think you have to find out. I really do. I think you have to find out.
So you're not going to drop the probe?
Can you
I'm
fire
not
yourself?
I have to find out.
Can you be moral enough to fire yourself? Oh, you ain't never. Integrity. Do you have. Oh, yeah, no.
He said he's not leaving if,
Well, then I'll have to fire him, okay? If he's not leaving on time, I've held back.
Can
firing
he
him.
fire
I've
Powell?
wanted to fire
I don't
him,
think he can.
But I hate to be controversial, you know? I want to be
Boy, they
uncontroversial.
don't pump your head up.
Yes, because it's so easy for you to hold yourself back. We see that every night on social media. Trump's push to
Federal
investigate
Reserve.
Jerome Powell, though, has stalled not only the confirmation of Powell's replacement, but it kills any chance of a resignation from Powell, who says he has, quote, no intention of stepping down until the investigation is over. The investigation was derailed by a federal judge last month who called it an effort, quote, to harass and pressure Powell to resign or give in to Trump.
Harassing him. Harassment. Yeah, can't nobody tell you no. Oh.
Demand for him to lower interest rates. But a source confirms new reporting by the Wall Street Journal that says federal prosecutors still made a surprise visit to the Federal Reserve's headquarters yesterday, and two of the deputies working for Janine Pirro were advised that they could not access the site without pre-clearance. Wall Street Journal reporting that an outside lawyer for the Fed wrote this to Pirro's office, pointing to the previous ruling, saying, quote, should you wish to challenge that finding, the courts provide an avenue for you. It is not appropriate for you to try to circumvent it. I ask that you commit to not seek to communicate with my client outside of the presence of counsel. Donald Trump using the Department of Justice to achieve his most politically toxic aims is where we start today with some of our most favorite reporters and friends. Senior investigative reporter Carol Lennig is with us here at the table. Also joining us, former Department of Justice pardon attorney Liz Oyer is here. She was fired by Trump's Justice Department leadership last March after refusing to reinstate actor Mel Gibson's gun rights. And with me for the hour, my dear friend, contributor Mike Barnacle. Carol Lennig, this is your
his
beat.
gun rights.
Take me through what sort of bubble they're in.
They got so much stuff going on behind the scenes.
Other than the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers.
You know, I think there are two potential audiences for these actions, actually, Nicole. One of them is, I think we all know, in addition from our own reporting here at MS Now, that Todd Blanche is auditioning to be the not acting Attorney General, but to be the full-term, full-time Attorney General. And so his audience is Donald Trump. Donald Trump believes he's going to please and placate that extreme right that you talked about in the opening. But going for both of these steps, vacating the actions of people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy, and then moving, as Perot is moving, to try to continue to investigate Jerome Powell. Again, she's trying to audition for the job as well. She, we are told by sources, is also trying to please that audience of one, Donald Trump, because a federal judge has said, stop, you don't have the evidence. You don't have any evidence to open this kind of investigation. I do know from some reporting I did today in preparation for coming on and talking with you, that sources say Perot does not believe that the chief judge will succeed on appeal, and therefore she's concluded in her legal assessment, which is a little early, a little premature to do so, but that she's concluded that a judge can't tell a prosecutor what to do in an investigation, and that's why she's proceeding the way she is.
And so she dispatched the prosecutors yesterday to
Authorized it.
She better go talk to Pam Bundy.
in defiance of a federal judge
Yes.
because she thinks she'll prevail.
She
on
thinks
appeal.
she will ultimately prevail, and it's not his place to tell her what to do. You know, and I will say this, in fairness, in full transparency, what the judge did is really unusual, and I said this, I think,
But
at
that
the
don't mean he
time,
don't have the power to.
probably on your show. It is really unusual for a judge to take this step and make it public so early in a potential criminal investigation because it's a huge slap in the face. But it's not unusual for a judge to conclude, hey, I've looked at the evidence in camera, under seal, with no one watching, and you got bupkis, which is ultimately what Judge Boasberg found.
I mean, it feels like a Rubicon crossing, though, Liz. I mean, a judge is ruling on the specific absence of evidence against Jerome Powell. But wittingly or unwittingly, the judge is also weighing in, I think, on whether or not Trump can manufacture criminality against a political adversary. And so it feels like nothing less than sort of the future of this norm of our democracy, of not turning the courts into the banana republic that DOJ has become, hinges.
We gotta stop. We gotta pause for the Sunday. We got a Sunday. We got a Sunday strolling through Auntie Fee's chat. Thank you, Denise, for the Sunday. I like me some ice cream, but the ice cream be like, ooh, child, woo. That's how that ice cream feel when I see Trump. I feel like, yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo. I want some pistachio almond. Ooh, can I get some plant-based caramel on top of that? Ooh, yeah, yeah. Some organic cherries and shit. Ooh, can I make my own ice cream sundae, Denise? Thank you, precious. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Let me back it up a little bit. Ooh, baby, because, ooh, pistachio almonds with some plant-based light type caramel. Ooh. Gluten-free and what is that other mess? Hot fructose and all that stuff. Get the anyway, let's go. Thank you.
Criminality against a political adversary. And so it feels like nothing less than sort of the future of this norm of our democracy, of not turning the courts into the banana republic that DOJ has become, hinges on how this turns out.
Yeah, there are a couple things going on here. One is that the courts are getting tired of seeing Donald Trump try
Absolutely.
to accomplish ends that are purely political using the legal system. What Donald Trump wants at the end of the day is never going to happen. He wants convictions where there is no crime, and that is just not possible as long as...
Yeah, and then where there is crime in his cabinet, within his White House, on his golf course, you know, Epstein Island, where there is crime, you want us to act like, oh, ain't nothing there. We still talking about Jack. Yeah. Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. Not at all. Yeah, we're not going nowhere. Yeah, so stop playing in areas where there is no crime and deal with you and your criminal friends. I heard somewhere today. I saw where what's the funny looking man? The lurch like face, that strong arms in the wrestling move. Is it Jim Jordan? Yeah. Was trying to call out Patel. Hell, ain't y'all both criminals? Huh? Yeah. Are you one of them Proud Boys or something, Jim Jordan? You know. Yeah, you be holding folk down, allegedly, in those wrestling moves. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of male skeletons in your closet. Yeah. That limo driver got your ass too in the back seat. He got T on you too. Yes, sir. Don't you forget. You better not, boy. Yeah. Do you not know that you're in somebody's files? That limo driver know you, Murdoch, Trump. Trump said, yeah, boy, y'all better stop. Y'all days are numbered. Yeah. I really do believe the male testimonies are going to be, I hate to say it, I think they're going to be, although there's only a few, they're going to be more damaging. I think the male testimonies are going to be more damaging than, I hate to say it, the minors. Because most men don't want to tell about being essayed by another man. It's going to take, for them to even talk about that. So shout out to everybody who has given a statement. Of the day that they was victimized. God bless you all. You are very brave. You're very, very, very brave. Minors, males, and females. Don't let nobody take your truth away from you. If they don't want the truth out there, they should have never done it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. God bless you all. Sasha was something else. But the anger of that limo driver, that little girl that he chose to be a fill-in father for, to find out that he, DJT, raped her. And then also find out that he stalked him down, hunted him down to be his limo driver, just to throw it in his face as a reminder. You were my first boy. I remember you. You were my first male victim. You was a little boy. Imagine that. Imagine already being upset and angry for overhearing a phone conversation, a confession that Trump is having with Epstein about brutally raping Dusty. To also be reminded that I know who you are. You don't remember me? You were my first at your mama and daddy house in Oklahoma. They had a whole little old brawl. Some went down. His uncle got popped in the neck, and somebody else was this, and somebody was sound like he was describing that was being sacrificed, and some was stuck in him or being roasted. And he took a chunk of meat out of it. Wicked, straight wicked. His anger, oh my God, Timmy. Oh my God, y'all. That man was angry. It's almost as if he felt, he talked about his PTSD and, suppressing, for mental sake. Yeah, man. I want to tell y'all, I think the men are going to be more convincing than the females. I don't know, but I do. But let's carry on. Let me back that up. That limo driver, he's something else. Oh my God. Sasha was a shock. He was shocking, but he didn't have that anger in his interview like the limo driver did. I'm gonna just be honest. He got a little payback. Sasha got a little payback. He scarred him for life. Yeah. He scarred ODT for life. Yeah, he put a stain on his butt brain. Yeah. Yeah, he'll never forget. The limo driver wanted that and was on his way to that. So when you hear him talking, when he said, Donald J. Trump, it was like, wow. Yeah, let's go, y'all, because that limo driver, whew. Dang, I need to go find that video. Let's go, y'all.
Today has become hinges on how this turns out.
Yeah, there are a couple things going on here. One is that the courts are getting tired of seeing Donald Trump try to accomplish ends that are
whatever
political
one
using the legal system. What Donald Trump wants at the end of the day is...
I'm sure he did, but we know that he lollipopped Bubba. It's in the Epstein file. He slurped that slurper. I ain't no good. Boy, I ain't no good. Girl, you would say anything. Yeah, he slurped that slurper. And say, meow. And I caught it. There's a picture of them out there in that bed. Every one of them pictures like that done slipped through. I feel that was released by Epstein, the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein. They'll snatch that, baby. They snatched that back from me real quick. But I got to get it in. Because when it come out, when they show it, we would have already seen it, T-Sippers. That's the beautiful thing about it for me. Let's go.
never going to happen. He wants convictions
He shows slurp
where
that
there
slurpy
is no
though.
crime, and that is just not possible as long as the courts hold up their end of the bargain under the Constitution, and as long as the citizens who serve on grand juries and juries refuse to indict and convict people where there is no evidence. Donald Trump is growing increasingly frustrated with that pushback from other parts of the system, but that's how our system is intended to work, and Judge Boasberg is sending the message here that the president cannot fool around with the legal system to achieve political ends. Jeanine Pirro's role in all of this is largely performative. She may or may not believe that Judge Boasberg's ruling will hold up, but what she knows is that she will get a headline out of sending her prosecutors to this construction site. It is a stunt. It is a performance. Federal prosecutors do not go to construction sites to walk around. There is nothing that could productively be accomplished by two federal prosecutors who have legal legal responsibilities in the courtroom by going down to a construction site and walking around. There's absolutely nothing other than a performance stunt. And this is what members of this DOJ do. Frankly, we saw Ed Martin, who's currently the pardon attorney occupying my old job, do this in the past. He and his assistant went to Letitia James's home in New York and walked around and staged a photo opportunity outside of her brownstone. It's all performance for the audience of one, Donald Trump, and it really has nothing to do with making cases within the rules of the justice system.
Oh. Okay, here, let me hurry up. I got somewhere I gotta be. Let's go. What's next? Can y'all get y'all to hit the like buttons? 292 people. 99. 99 and a half won't do. Lord, I'm running. Trying to make 100 because 99 and a half won't do. Won't do. I guess I'm getting my voice back. Y'all hit the like button for Auntie P. I would greatly appreciate it. Where am I going? Oh, he's still alive. Inside reveals. Let's go on right here before I mess around. I didn't understand if this was all or if it's over for Trump. Let's see. Hey, Armando.
Oh, look, I'm getting a call from one of those unknown numbers.
Have you tried reversephone.com?
Reversephone.com?
Yeah, we all get numbers from calls. Was having a psychotic meltdown all last night. Donald Trump was having a psychotic meltdown all last night as the entire world is calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Here at home in the United States, Congress introducing legislation to establish a panel to look into the fitness of Donald Trump's cognitive and physical abilities to function in the position of the presidency. More broadly throughout the world, the international community is saying that Donald Trump needs to be removed based on his cognitive decline. Heck, the Iranian social media accounts across the world in the various embassies continue to mock Donald Trump and say, so when is the 25th Amendment going to be invoked, America? You realize that you have a deeply unstable and cognitively ailing individual with the nuclear codes, and Iran's just been absolutely ruthless and is causing Donald Trump to have this late night psychotic meltdown. They just mock the hell out of him. They're posting videos about Epstein Queen, which is their nickname for Melania. They're posting AI images of the AI image that Donald Trump posted, Epstein Queen, which is their nickname for night psychotic meltdown. They just mock the hell out of him. They're posting videos about Epstein Queen, which is their nickname for Melania. They're posting AI images of the AI image that Donald Trump posted of himself as Jesus. Then they have Jesus going after Donald Trump, who's the Antichrist, and throwing him in hell, basically. They are taunting him. It is haunting him. And Donald Trump all last night, post after post after post, is of the AI image that Donald just mocked that. Yeah, they're posting AI images of the AI image that Donald Trump posted of himself as Jesus. Then they have Jesus going after Donald Trump, who's the Antichrist, and throwing him in hell, basically. They are taunting him. It is haunting him. And Donald Trump all last night, post after post after post, weird posts with photos of him as like a little baby, which is just so odd. You have Donald
wow,
Trump
what type
making,
of president?
other posts
Y'all better
talking
never.
about
me just go read some of them to you.
Make
He's
these type of
attacking
mistakes
NATO.
again.
NATO wasn't, this is what he's like posting around midnight his time. NATO wasn't there for us. They won't be for us. They won't be there for us in the future. Donald J. Trump, again around midnight, he posts, will someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months, and that for Iran to have a nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. America is back, 3 exclamation points. President Donald J. Trump, and then he posts this weird article about Alan Dershowitz, and Alan Dershowitz saying Trump could move to expunge 2019 impeachment after the
Hey,
release
Angela.
of bombshell evidence. It's really good to know, Donald, that
Hey,
on April
Kelly.
14th at around
You made
midnight,
it.
you're posting about 2019 impeachment stuff. Abuse of discretion. Appeals court slaps down Judge Boasberg over contempt probe.
Yep.
That's what Trump was posting at around midnight also. He also posts the following. Chokehold. Iran could run out of oil storage with Trump blockade, wreaking havoc with its economy. So as you keep on posting over and over again that Iran wants to make a deal badly and we're going to make a deal with them, you're posting at midnight that you're doing a economic chokehold on them that's going to starve them to death. By the way, another admission of more war crimes right there. But also, don't you realize that for Iran, it
Perfect
shows
pick.
how weak you are that that's what you're posting at around midnight? I mean, it's
For
just more
Project
post
25.
after post after post by Donald Trump. He goes, tune in tomorrow to watch me on Maria Bartiromo. Tune in tomorrow. Okay, what do you think Maria Bartiromo is going to say? I know. Here's what Maria Bartiromo says. She says that you claim that the war is over, that you've won the war and it's done. That's
Why
what
you
want
sending
Iran to
Pakistan
see,
over there
that you're saying
for?
right now that there is no more war, while there's currently a very tenuous ceasefire, and you keep on making up that Iran wants to make a deal so badly. They want to make a deal so badly. So anyway, here's what Maria Bartiromo said. Here, let's play this clip.
I just left the president. It was a great interview. He said a lot about the economy, about the Iran war, about NATO. One thing that I'll leave you with, I said to him, Mr. President, you keep talking about the war like was. I said, is it over? He said, it's over.
Ooh.
Join the whole interview tomorrow morning.
Oh, the turtle drinking that. That's cute. Since stay hydrated. That's cute. I like that one. Oh. I was finna say it was maybe the cute. It's the cutest right so far today. Let's see what else comes. Yesterday. Oh man, which one was it? The picnic basket or the husky? Yeah, thank you, Monty. That's cute. Okay, let me back this lady up, repeating these lies like she really believe them. These people be making me think that they be, oh no, I can't play dumb. I can't act like I believe you.
And Mr. President, you keep talking about the war like was. I said, is it over? He said, it's over. Join the whole interview tomorrow morning with Maria, Fox Business, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you then.
Yeah, it's over because you got them people, because it's already over and you don't want us to know it just yet.
And as I noted, the Iranian social media accounts say
Or in your
25th
head it may
Amendment.
be.
Here at home, 50 House Democrats introduced legislation to establish a commission on presidential capacity to discharge the powers and duties, citing Donald Trump's unhinged and volatile and incoherent actions. Here's the official bill that was introduced into Congress yesterday: to establish a commission on presidential capacity to discharge the powers and duties of the office and for other purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Short title. The act may be cited as the Commission on Presidential Capacity to Discharge the Powers and Duties of the Office Act. There is established a commission in the legislative branch to be known as the Commission on Presidential Capacity to Discharge the Powers and Duties of the Office. The commission shall serve as a body provided by law by Congress to carry out
Let's go. Let's go, Mike. Mike sent me the sunshine. He said, don't blame it on us. Huh? Blame it on the boogie. Yeah. Sunshine, moonlight, some. Blame it on the boogie. Thank you for the sunshine, Mike. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Let's
Or
go.
of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution to discharge the powers and duties of the office. The commission shall serve as a body provided by law by Congress to carry out Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The determination under subsection A shall be made if the commission finds that the president is temporarily or permanently impaired by any of the following conditions: physical illness, mental illness, alcohol or drug use, any other condition or contingency rendering the president unable to execute the powers and duties of the office of the presidency. Congresswoman Stansberry writes, today I joined Democratic Congressmember Raskin and introduced a 25th Amendment bill to create a bipartisan commission to determine if the president is fit to serve due to physical, mental, or
He's
other
not.
conditions.
Get him out.
And it's notable that while legislation
Let
was
me hear who that
introduced to
was again.
form that commission, right? Amendment bill to create a bipartisan commission to determine or contingency rendering the president unable to execute the powers and duties of the office of the presidency. Congresswoman Stansberry writes, today I joined Democratic Congressmember Raskin and introduced a 25th Amendment bill to create a bipartisan.
Shout out to you, Representative Stansberry. For standing up for the people. It's time for him to go. We can't handle it no more. We just can't.
Partisan commission to determine if the president is fit to serve due to physical, mental, or other conditions. And it's notable that while legislation was introduced to form that commission right there, as I said, Donald Trump continued to attack the Pope over and over again. Then you had Dr. Oz, very close to Donald Trump, say that Donald Trump frequently, this is what Oz said yesterday to Don Jr. on Don Jr.'s podcast. Dr. Oz said, Trump continues to argue to me that diet soda is good for him because it kills
going
grass.
Along with it.
So therefore it must kill cancer inside the body because it kills grass. This is the individual with their hands on the nuclear codes. This is the individual who has got the United States into an unlawful
It kills grass, so it must be. So grass is a cell.
With their hands on the nuclear code because it kills grass. Over again. Then you had Dr. Oz, very close to Donald Trump, say that Donald Trump frequently, this is what Oz said yesterday to Don Jr. on Don Jr.'s podcast. Dr. Oz said, Trump continues to argue to me that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. So therefore it must kill cancer inside the body because it kills grass.
It has cancer.
This is the
individual
with their hands on the nuclear codes. This is the individual who has got the United States into an unlawful, war crime-ridden, catastrophic war against Iran. Here, play this clip.
Office. He'll pepper. Bobby and I usually go to the meetings together, so he'll first start off with candy bars, that little candy jar he'll call it. He'll hit the red button, and then come to the diet soda pops, which is your dad argues that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. It's poured on grass, so therefore must kill cancer cells inside the body. So he'll try to. I'm not going to argue this right now. We were on Air Force One the other day, and I walk in there because he wants to talk about something, and he's got an orange soft drink on his desk. Fanta. He drinks Fanta. That's what I didn't want to say the brand name on the podcast. He's got Fanta on the desk, and I say, "Are you kidding me?" So he starts to like sheepishly grin. He goes, "This stuff's good for me. It kills cancer cells." And then he tells me it's fresh squeezed. So how bad could it be for you?
It's fresh squeezed.
Maybe he's onto something because I will say this.
Can.
I know a lot of guys pushing 80.
Here's how CNN was reporting Donald Trump continuing to attack Pope Leo XIV yesterday. Let's play it.
The third straight day, President Trump is criticizing the Pope. The president told an Italian newspaper that the pontiff, quote, doesn't understand and shouldn't be talking about war because he has no idea what's happening.
Baby, they said them Italians is on your head.
President Trump is criticizing the Pope. president told an Italian newspaper that the pontiff, quote, doesn't understand and shouldn't be talking about war because he has no idea what's happening. He is criticizing the Pope. The president told an Italian newspaper that the pontiff, quote, doesn't understand and shouldn't be talking about war because he has no idea what's happening. Pope Leo has opposed the war with Iran, saying that Jesus rejects war.
And then yesterday, Donald Trump also called one of his favorite journalists,
So
Jonathan Karl, and Donald
it
Trump
will
said
give you.
that he isn't thinking about extending the ceasefire. He doesn't think it will be necessary.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be watching an amazing 2 days. I really do. I asked, Jonathan Karl said, if the war ends with a deal, or do you just say, look, we knocked out their capacity and that's it, Trump? It could end either way. But I think a deal is preferable because then they can rebuild. They really do have a different regime now. No matter what, we took out the radicals. They're gone, no longer with us. And he made this extraordinary...
If you took out the radicals, why you got Pakistan over there talking for you? If they radicals, why couldn't J.D. Vance and your son-in-law convince him to just do whatever it is that you wanted him to do? I hear you making deals now, though. Yeah. Okay, but carry on.
Claim Donald Trump did to Jonathan Karl, quote, if I weren't president, the world would be torn to pieces. I think you've torn the world to pieces right now,
right.
Donald. Absolutely absurd behavior right there. Let's go to Capitol Hill and hear what some of the lawmakers are saying. Here's Congressman Menendez. Here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
Congressman, what do you make of Trump's attacks on the Pope this weekend?
I mean, what else do Americans need to see, right? First American Pope, and from someone who has no religion in President Trump, right? So for him to attack the Pope is, and then to depict himself as Jesus. Like, I just don't know what else the American people need to see for them to be convinced this person's not stable, that he should not be our president.
They need to ban him.
Sacrilegious.
On the
And
down.
meanwhile, the same week, I was visiting a pastor from my district who was being held at Delaney Hall on Holy Week, right? So they're locking up religious leaders. We have a president who's depicting himself as Jesus and attacking the Pope. What else do the American people need to see?
Him being removed from office.
This vegetable cutter has massively sped up my prep time.
That's all we miss.
Cabbage, tomatoes, onions.
To blow our mind.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And AOC spoke to our Pablo Manriquez on the steps of the Capitol about, you have any reaction to the attacks on the Pope and Donald Trump's mental fitness? Play this clip.
Congresswoman, any remarks or any reaction to Trump's attacks on the Pope? I know.
At the point that you're attacking the Pope, who do you think has moral authority in this situation? You know what I mean?
And then AOC talks about Donald Trump threatening mass genocide of civilizations. Let's play this clip.
You know what I mean?
Congresswoman, on top of that, what were your thoughts about President Trump threatening war crimes, saying an entire civilization might die tonight? What was your reaction? What are your thoughts about that?
President Trump, I want to be clear, he not only threatened a genocide, he is continuing to threaten a genocide against the Iranian people. That is his main point of quote-unquote leverage in this situation. It is a war crime. It is abhorrent, and it is also illegal. Our presence in Iran right now is a crime. It is a crime. He has committed a crime. I personally believe it's impeachable, but that whole thing aside, it's a crime. No president is authorized by the Constitution of the United States to go to war without the authorization of Congress. Period. And so acting out on any of his threats would also be a crime as well. Congresswoman.
Then it's also very fascinating how the MAGA Republicans make excuses for this, like
Sleepy
MAGA
Don.
Republican Congressmember Jimenez. Here's what he has to say.
What do you make of Trump's attacks on the Pope over the weekend?
I have difference of opinion.
You have a difference of opinion with who? Sleepy Don? Who?
Difference of opinion?
Yeah.
Okay. You for the Pope or you for Trump?
For the Pope for spiritual things, for the President for political things.
Thank you.
And our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, put together this list. starting on February 6th, but there's probably a lot more. Donald Trump saying they want to make a deal badly. March 2nd, they want to make a deal badly. March 16th, they want to make a deal badly. The 24th, they want to make a deal badly. The 25th, the 1st, the 13th, the 14th, they want to make a deal badly. They want to make a deal badly. They want to make a deal badly. I mean, how embarrassing can you be? You know, and a few other things on Capitol Hill I want to share with you as Donald Trump's cognitive and physical abilities decline. Let's take a look at what MAGA Mike Johnson said. MAGA Mike, what do you think about Donald Trump saying that he wants to wipe out Iran's civilization? Play this clip.
The president last week threatened to wipe out the civilization of Iran. Was that appropriate? No comment? Really on that?
Did you advise the president to delete that post when Jesus?
Oh, now you ain't got nothing to say. Said the man who liked to hear himself talk. Now you ain't got nothing to say.
Oh, and hey, MAGA Mike, what do you think about Donald Trump posting himself as Jesus? You like that, MAGA Mike? MAGA Mike, you into that? Here, play this clip right here.
Speaker Johnson, can I ask you about the president's post depicting himself as Jesus? Was it blasphemy?
I talked to the president about it as soon as I saw it, and told him that I don't think it was being received in the same way he intended it. He agreed and he pulled it down. That was the right thing to do. He explained how he saw that, and I don't think he thought it was sacrilegious at all. So,
Do you think he should back down?
I think he showed great respect.
Well, why is he going at the Pope?
So again, utterly bizarre. But then let's go to J.D. Vance yesterday as well, because you know that J.D. Vance recognizes
Hey,
how
baby,
cognitively ill
I don't
Donald
think
Trump
that
is physically ill.
presidential with
J.D. Vance
Kirk
is like,
and Vance
I may have to step up
will
soon
work.
based on how
Because
fast
wasn't
Donald
nobody
Trump's
at
decline
the
is
turning
happening.
point thing
You know what I
yesterday.
believe J.D. Vance keeps on saying that there are all these people who want to
Distraction.
kill Donald Trump,
Yep.
and I think J.D. Vance is saying this also to get Donald Trump's paranoia going as well. But listen to what J.D. Vance had to say. Play this clip.
Their goal is? Well, starting in a few months, we're going to have primaries that are over, we're going to have candidates on the ballot, and we're all going to need to get out there and work hard, because the people who want to kill Donald Trump, the people who want to throw Donald Trump in prison, the people who murdered our friend, and then the people who celebrated it afterwards, those people are trying to achieve political power. We cannot let them, and we have to unite to make sure that doesn't happen.
And also then J.D. Vance. And I think this is part of J.D. Vance undermining Donald Trump. He's like, a lot of voters, young voters, they don't like our Middle East policy right now. So I tell them, take back your country. This is why you got to be engaged. Take back your country from the government. Dude, y'all are government. Trump's the government. You literally are the people, and you're telling the young people to take back the government from you. And I think that's actually what he's signaling. I think he's giving his code to young people. Basically, this guy Trump, I don't want to do this war, but Trump did this war because, he's a little bit cognitively addled. So take back your country, hint, hint, take back your country. Here's what Vance says. Here, play this clip.
And I've seen some of this, on various issues. Like for example, I recognize that a lot of young voters don't love the policy that we have in the Middle East. Okay, I understand that. I also know that we've secured the border. We've lowered housing prices now for 8 months in a row, and there's going to be more to come beyond that. We've made America energy dominant, which has lowered electricity costs and things like that. We've made it so that we have the lowest murder rate in 127 years. I'm not saying you have to agree with me on every issue. I'm not saying you have to agree with me on every issue. What I'm saying is, don't get disengaged because you disagree with the administration on one topic. Get more involved. Make your voice heard even more. That's how we ultimately take the country back. It's not by you. If you get 5 things you want and 1 thing you don't want, I see way too many people, especially in sort of the online conservative, Twitter sphere, who say, there's no point. No.
There you have it. Tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. Love this video.
I think it's time for them to yank him out by his lace front wig. Yank him out. Yeah. By his lace. U.S. rank as Trump. Hold up. I think I need to do fuck. I'm gonna go here. Y'all, can y'all hit the like button? We about to go there. Okay, what you saying? That's, I got you in the lineup. Let's go.
The Trump administration is an absolute free fall. The entire conservative movement is an absolute free fall after Donald Trump very clearly betrayed the American people. Not only are they spiraling in the polls, quite literally Trump's approval rating is down among every single group, including working class white people without a college degree, which was historically his strongest demographic. He's now underwater 4 points. It's a 40-point drop. There has been a 45-point drop among people in my generation. So the polls are spiraling. Trump seems to be mentally declining, very, very visibly, and physically declining, while all of this.
For us, it's not just a place where you can go and eat.
You know, I've been watching American politics for over 50 years now. As a governor, as a president, and as a citizen who still believes deeply in this country. And today something happened that I think every American needs to sit with for a moment.
Let's stick with
House
it.
Democrats formally introduced 5 articles of impeachment.
You had more people in your vehicle than J.D. Vance had.
United States, Pete Hegseth.
They said no.
Now I know in today's political environment,
Monty, they said no. Hell no, we won't go. Let's go. Right here. Let's
you know, I've been watching American politics for over 50 years now. As a governor, as a president,
y'all used
and
to
as
be
a citizen who
tight,
still believes
right?
deeply in this country. And today something happened that I think every American needs to sit with for a moment. House Democrats formally introduced 5 articles of impeachment against the Secretary of Defense of the United States, Pete Hegseth. Now, I know in today's political environment, impeachment gets thrown around a lot more than it used to. But let me tell you something. When the United States Congress files a 7-page resolution accusing the person running the Pentagon of war crimes, unauthorized war, and reckless handling of classified information, that is not routine. That is a constitutional signal flare. This isn't about one party scoring points against the other. This is about something much more fundamental.
Hey, Crystal.
It's about whether the people we entrust
Thank you, Samantha.
with the most awesome military power on earth are exercising that power responsibly, within the law, within the Constitution, and with proper respect for human life. Now look.
Oh, was that something else?
I'm not here to tell you what to think.
There we go.
I've never believed that was my job. But I am going to walk you through what's actually in this resolution. Because when you hear the details, the specific allegations, the specific events, and the specific language that came out of the Defense Secretary's own mouth, I think you'll understand why this matters far beyond Washington. And we'll come back to some of those details in a moment, because the story behind this impeachment effort goes back much further than today. It touches on everything from a messaging app scandal to a missile strike on a girls' school in southern Iran. And it raises questions that every American, Republican, Democrat, Independent, ought to be asking. So stay with me. This is going to take a little time, but I promise you, it's worth understanding. To understand what happened today, you've got to understand the road that brought us here. Pete Hegseth didn't arrive at this moment out of nowhere. His confirmation as Secretary of Defense in early 2025 was already one of the most contentious in modern memory. Before he ever set foot in the Pentagon, there was a 2017 police report detailing a sexual assault allegation from a Republican women's conference in Monterey, California.
Okay.
Hegseth later paid a settlement
Okay.
reported to be contentious in modern memory.
Yeah, they all of them nasty.
Before he ever set foot in the Pentagon, there was a 2017 police report detailing a sexual assault allegation from a Republican women's conference in Monterey, California. Hegseth later paid a settlement reported to be around $50,000, and his accusers signed a non-disclosure agreement. His own mother wrote an email calling him, and I quote, an abuser of women. That's not opposition research. That's family testimony. Then there was his record running two
His
veteran
own mama
nonprofits
called him a.
where revenues collapsed from nearly $9 million to just $265,000 under his leadership. These were organizations meant to serve the men and women who served us. And the financial stewardship was, to put it charitably, deeply troubling. But a Republican-controlled Senate
I
confirmed
wonder
him
why I
anyway.
can't see Richard.
And look, that's their prerogative. Elections have consequences, and presidents generally get the cabinet they want. Then came Signalgate. In March 2025, Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg was accidentally added to a Signal group chat where Hegseth and other senior officials were discussing classified military strike details in Yemen, including the timing and weapon systems for a covert operation to take out a senior Houthi commander, just 2 hours before it was set to begin. The Pentagon's own Inspector General concluded in December 2025 that Hegseth violated department policies and risked endangering American personnel.
I want to tell you a story.
I used to believe that.
And then came the pivot point. Military operations against Iran in early 2026, launched without congressional authorization. And this is where things start to get really complicated. The resolution filed today by Representative Yasemin Ansari of Arizona, the first Iranian-American Democrat elected to Congress, contains 5 articles. 8 co-sponsors joined her, including Jasmine Crockett and Sarah McBride, with support from groups like Move On and the Center for International Policy. Let me take you through them one by one. Article 1 accuses Hegseth of launching an unauthorized war against Iran without congressional approval. The resolution says he knowingly exposed American service members to substantial and foreseeable risk of injury or death, and that the entire operation lacked defined objectives. It also cites the administration's consideration of ground operations inside Iran. Article 2 is the most serious. It accuses Hegseth of violations of the law of armed conflict and targeting of civilians. The resolution specifically names the U.S. Tomahawk missile strike on the Shajareh Tayyebe Girls Elementary School in Manab, Iran. Amnesty International confirmed that strike killed at least 156 people, including over 120 school children. The resolution also cites Hegseth's own words from a March press briefing: no quarter, no mercy for our enemies. In military and legal terms, no quarter means refuse surrender, take no prisoners. Under the Geneva Conventions, that is an unlawful command.
Unlawful.
Article 3 revisits Signalgate, the gross negligence in handling classified information that the Inspector General already documented. Article 4 accuses Hegseth of obstructing congressional oversight by withholding information about civilian casualties in Iran, Venezuela, and other theaters. Article 5 charges him with conduct bringing disrepute on the United States, citing the rollback of DEI policies, restrictions on transgender service members, and threats to withdraw from NATO. Now, I'll be honest with you. The first 3 articles carry the heaviest constitutional weight. But together, these 5 paint a picture that deserves serious examination. Let me tell you something about what it's actually like to be responsible for sending Americans into harm's way. I sat in that chair for 8 years. I ordered strikes in Kosovo. I authorized operations against Al-Qaeda. And every single time, the weight of those decisions sat on my shoulders in a way I cannot fully describe. When you hold that kind of power, words matter enormously. You don't get to speak loosely. Every phrase you utter is heard by commanders in the field, by allies around the world.
Let me hear them articles again.
8 co-sponsors joined her, including Jasmine Crockett and Sarah McBride, with support from groups like Move On and the 2025, that Hegseth violated department policies and risked endangering American personnel. And then came the pivot point. Military operations against Iran in early 2026, launched without congressional authorization. And this is where things start to get really complicated. The resolution filed today by Representative Yasemin Ansari of Arizona, the first Iranian-American Democrat elected to Congress, contains 5 articles. 8 co-sponsors joined her, including Jasmine Crockett and Sarah McBride, with support from groups like Move On and the Center for International Policy. Let me take you through them one by one. Article 1 accuses Hegseth of launching an unauthorized war against Iran without congressional approval. The resolution says he knowingly exposed American service members to substantial and foreseeable risk of injury or death, and that the entire operation lacked defined objectives. It also cites the administration's consideration of ground operations inside Iran. Article 2 is the most serious. It accuses Hegseth of violations of the law of armed conflict and targeting of civilians. The resolution specifically names the U.S. Tomahawk missile strike on the Shajareh Tayyebe Girls Elementary School in Manab, Iran.
Do not buy Black Girl Vitamins collagen powder if you don't want these side effects. Number 1, your hair is growing like crazy, thicker, shinier, and healthier than ever. I'm spending way too much time trying.
Amnesty International confirmed that strike killed at least 156 people, including over 120 school children. The resolution also cites Hegseth's own words from a March press briefing: no quarter, no mercy for our enemies. In military and legal terms, no quarter means refuse surrender, take no prisoners. Under the Geneva Conventions, that is an unlawful command. Article 3 revisits Signalgate, the gross negligence in handling classified information that the Inspector General already documented. Article 4 accuses Hegseth of obstructing congressional oversight by withholding information about civilian casualties in Iran, Venezuela, and other theaters. Article 5 charges him with conduct bringing disrepute on the United States, citing the rollback of DEI policies, restrictions on transgender service members, and threats to withdraw from NATO. Now, I'll be honest with you. The first 3 articles carry the heaviest constitutional weight. But together, these 5 paint a picture that deserves serious examination. Let me tell you something about what it's actually like to be responsible for sending Americans into harm's way. I sat in that chair for 8 years. I ordered strikes in Kosovo. I authorized operations against Al-Qaeda. And every single time, the weight of those decisions sat on my shoulders in a way I cannot fully describe. When you hold that kind of power, words matter enormously. You don't get to speak loosely. Every phrase you utter is heard by commanders in the field, by allies around the world, and by adversaries looking for any excuse to claim the moral high ground against us. When Pete Hegseth stood at that briefing podium and said, "No quarter, no mercy for our enemies," the world was listening. Our allies were listening. And so were the lawyers at the International Criminal Court. In military tradition and international law, no quarter means you refuse to accept surrender. It means you kill combatants who are trying to lay down their arms. That is a war crime under the Geneva Conventions, plain and simple. I'm not a judge and I'm not a jury, but I've been in those rooms, and that is not toughness. That is a failure of leadership. And then there is the Manab school strike. Over 120 children killed. Amnesty International confirmed it. The Pentagon's own Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Office, which was designed precisely to prevent this kind of catastrophe, had been gutted under Hegseth's leadership earlier in his tenure. Politico reported that directly. So the very safeguard that existed to protect innocent lives had been dismantled by the person now accused of failing to protect them. We've got to remember, responsible wartime leadership means seeking counsel, respecting the chain of command, working with Congress, and above all, protecting civilians. What this resolution describes is something very different. Now I want to elevate this conversation, because what we're really talking about here is bigger than Pete Hegseth. This is about what happens to America's institutions when accountability breaks down. And I see 3 pillars under extraordinary stress right now. First, the war powers framework. The Constitution is crystal clear. Congress has the power to declare war. That's not a suggestion, it's the law of the land. When the executive branch launches sustained military operations without authorization, it doesn't just break a rule, it breaks the social contract between the government and the people who fight and die. I dealt with this during Kosovo, and I understood there were constitutional guardrails I had to respect even when I disagreed with the pace of congressional action. Second,
inside the Silver Star Survival Package, you'll find a covert, all-in-one solar briefcase generator called the Alpha Case Elite. It's fume-free, whisper-quiet, and safe to use inside your home. And because it includes a free solar panel, you don't need gas, extension cords, or even the power grid. That means your fridge keeps running, your phones stay charged, and critical devices like medical equipment can stay on, even during a total blackout. But Power alone isn't enough. That's why this package also includes long-lasting survival food that's been designed to last up to 25 years. These are meals your family will actually want to eat. Breakfasts, lunches, dinners, ready in minutes. Just add water, heat, and serve. And speaking of water, everyone knows you can only survive a few days without clean drinking water. That's why the Silver Star Survival Package also includes a new advanced water filtration system, plus water storage, so you can filter and store cleaner, safer water for drinking, cooking, and everyday use. The real breakthrough is the nano mesh filter technology. Originally trusted by the U.S. military, is now available in your own home. It targets up to 99.9% of 200 dangerous contaminants, so your water is cleaner and tastes fresher.
Introducing the brand new Silver Star Survival Package. This survival supply package is like earning a Silver Star in emergency readiness. We refined our kits using your feedback, and now we've created a tactical, comprehensive survival arsenal, ready at a moment's notice. Let's talk about what's inside, because the heart of this package is power. First, you're getting our brand new Alpha Case Elite solar generator. We took a page out of the military's playbook and made a tactical, all-in-one solar generator built for the battlefield, job site, and home. There's nothing else like it on the market. Everything is stored inside: solar panel, cords, and flashlight. The unique briefcase style makes it easy to pick up
I'm
and
sorry,
go at a
T.
moment's
Stiffers.
notice.
Pentagon's
Yeah,
credibility.
there we go, baby. I'm sorry. Let me
When
get
the Secretary of Defense is accused of withholding civilian casualty data from the people's representatives in Congress, it erodes something precious: the trust between the military and the public it serves. I knew how essential that trust was during my presidency. Without it, the entire national security architecture weakens from within. Third, America's standing in the world. Let me tell you something. Our adversaries don't need propaganda when we give them the real thing. When your own Congress files war crimes allegations against your defense secretary, that echoes in every capital on earth. It weakens our alliances. It complicates our diplomacy. It hands our rivals a narrative they couldn't have written better themselves. And here's one more thing that troubles me. The Pentagon's response referred to itself as the Department of War. Now, that name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947 for a reason: to signal that America's military exists to defend, not to conquer. Language choices reveal priorities, and that particular choice says more than they probably intended. Now, I've been in politics my whole life, so let me put on my analyst hat for a moment and talk about what's really happening here strategically. This resolution is not going to pass the Republican-controlled House. Everybody knows that, including the Democrats who filed it. So why do it? Well, there are several reasons, and they're not all created equal. First, they're building a paper trail. Every article of impeachment becomes part of the congressional record. If Democrats retake the House in November 2026, these articles can be reintroduced with subpoena power, with hearings, and with real teeth. This is groundwork, not grandstanding. Second, they're framing the midterms. Democrats want Pete Hegseth to be the face of Trump's most controversial foreign policy decisions: the Iran war, the civilian casualties, the Signalgate scandal, the contempt for congressional oversight. They want voters to connect those dots when they walk into the ballot box. Third, look at the pattern. First, they went after Kristi Noem, then Pam Bondi, now Hegseth. Democrats are systematically challenging each pillar of the Trump cabinet. Each impeachment effort builds on the last. And fourth, there's the Ansari factor. Having the first Iranian-American Democrat in Congress lead this effort while American bombs are falling on Iran is both symbolically powerful and politically strategic. It personalizes the stakes in a way that resonates. But here's my caution to my own party. And I say this as someone who knows a thing or two about how voters think. If this is only about politics, it won't work. The American people can smell a stunt from a mile away. This has to be grounded in genuine constitutional concern, or it becomes just another news cycle that fades by Friday. The substance has to lead. The politics will follow. So where does all of this go?
Hi, I'm Andy Levian, General Counsel at the DNC. We just sued President Trump and Doge, and I hope you will support us by donating to our fight fund. Here's what you need to know. Trump signed an executive order to impose radical changes on how Americans register to vote, cast a ballot, and participate in our democracy, all of which threaten to disenfranchise lawful voters, and none of which is legal. It makes it harder for married women who've changed their names to register to vote, and forces states to throw out lawful mail ballots. If states don't comply, they could lose federal funding. And somehow, as we've come to expect from this administration, it gets even worse. The executive order also gives Doge access to the data of millions of voters, sensitive personal information handed over to Elon Musk, an unelected billionaire. The threat is real. After floating a third term, Trump and Musk are taking steps to rig our elections. That's why the DNC filed a lawsuit to stop them. We're already suing to block Trump's hostile takeover of the Federal Election Commission, and now we're gearing up for yet another legal battle that will shape the future of our country. Winning these is not easy, especially when your opponents are the president and the richest man in the world. So we're relying on a surge of grassroots support right now to help us put an end to these illegal power grabs. I hope you're with us. Thank you.
This is what would happen to your body if you ate mood sleep gummies every day. Day 1, you take your first gummy at bedtime, maybe expecting disappointment, but 20 minutes later, your racing thoughts slow down and you're falling asleep without tossing and turning for hours. It's like finding a dimmer switch for your brain. Day 2, you sleep through the night, no 3 a.m. wake-ups, and you actually wake up refreshed instead of like you've been hit by a truck. Day 5, your brain fog lifts and your mind clears. Your razor-sharp focus is back. You're actually finishing tasks without that mental fatigue dragging you down. Day 7, you have more energy than you've ever had. Real energy, not the jittery caffeine-fueled kind. You're jumping off the bed.
Let me give you my honest assessment of the likely trajectories here. In the short term, this resolution dies in the Republican House. The Pentagon dismisses it as a charade. They already have. Conservative media frames it as partisan overreach. And for a few days, it becomes another cable news debate. But the charges are now in the public record. They don't disappear. In the medium term, between now and November, things get more interesting. If the Iran conflict escalates, or if more civilian casualty reports emerge, these articles become a rallying point for Democratic candidates across the country. Accountability becomes a campaign theme, and Pete Hegseth becomes a liability for vulnerable Republican incumbents in swing districts who don't want to explain why they stood by a defense secretary accused of war crimes. If Democrats retake the House, the calculus changes entirely. The impeachment can be revived with subpoena power, compelled testimony, and full investigative hearings. At that point, the question of unauthorized war and civilian targeting would be adjudicated in a very different political environment. Then there's the international dimension, and this is what concerns me most. The allegations around the Manav school strike, over 120 children killed, will be invoked at the International Criminal Court and in diplomatic negotiations for years to come. You can dismiss a House resolution. You cannot dismiss the image of a destroyed school full of little girls. The world does not forget that. And finally, there's the precedent question. Whatever happens to Hexas, this moment establishes an expectation that Secretaries of Defense
They need to get rid
will
of
be
all
held
of them.
accountable not just by the President who appoints them, but by the Congress that represents the people. That precedent matters for whoever holds the office next from either
How
party.
will?
Let me close with something I feel very strongly about. I know that reasonable people can disagree about the Iran conflict.
Oh,
They can disagree about military strategy, about how aggressively to pursue national security, about the right balance between strength and restraint. That's always been true in a democracy, and it should be. But there are certain things that are not policy disagreements. They're guardrails. Congressional authorization before we send our sons and daughters into war. That's a guardrail. Protecting civilians in armed conflict, as the Geneva Conventions require. That's a guardrail. Handling classified information with the seriousness it demands, because lives depend on it. That's a guardrail. And providing honest, timely information to the people's elected representatives in Congress. That is a guardrail. If we take those guardrails down, we had better be prepared for what happens when the next person from either party decides the rules don't apply to them either. Because that's the thing about precedent. It doesn't belong to one administration. It belongs to everyone that follows. We've got to remember that the whole point of this American experiment is that nobody, not the President, not the Secretary of Defense, not anyone, is above the law. That's not a Democratic idea or a Republican idea. That is the idea. And when we lose sight of that, we don't just lose an argument, we lose ourselves. Now, I know filing articles of impeachment that won't pass may look like theater to some, but I see it differently. I see the system working.
Make us
Imperfectly,
understand. Thank you, Lisa.
slowly, but working. The conversation itself matters.
Thank you, Monty.
The record
For the gold
matters.
coin. Thank you for the
And I
flowers,
trust
Lisa.
the American people ultimately to hold their leaders accountable. I've always believed in the goodness and the common sense of the American people. That hasn't changed. What's changed is how hard we have to fight to make sure the system still listens to them.
Did you know that most
Okay,
phones
where we
are an
going
open
next?
door to cyber threats?
Y'all, come on. I need y'all to support the platform. Hit the like button. 424 people in here, and I don't have my 100 likes. Minimum. I've been here an hour and 46 minutes. Double tap the face of the screen. It's happening. Most people, okay. Military breaks their silence. Double tap the face if you haven't already. 3 dots at the top corner right. Hold on. What's this one? The panic.
You through is not just another Washington fight.
Yeah, no, that's not the one. What's this one? Hold on. Well, yeah. That's not it. Hold on.
Pakistan has been under the lens for its West Asian diplomacy after hosting the US-Iran talks last weekend. Why is
Thank
Islamabad
you,
so invested
Samantha.
in this peace process? Well, the answer might lie in its Strategic Defense Mutual Agreement, or the SDMA, signed with Saudi Arabia last year. While specific details regarding this pact were not disclosed back then, the two countries pledged that any attack on either country would be treated as an act of... Why is Islamabad so invested in this peace process? Well, the answer might lie in its Strategic Defense Mutual Agreement, or the SDMA, signed with Saudi Arabia last year. While specific details regarding this pact were not disclosed back then, the two countries
So they made a
pledged
deal.
that any attack on either country would be treated as an act of aggression against both. Now, this has raised concerns over Pakistan getting embroiled in the West Asian war. This agreement again came into focus as a Pakistani military contingent comprising around 13,000 soldiers and 10 to 18 jets was deployed to Saudi Arabia's King Abdulaziz Air Base on the 11th of April. This was the same day on which Islamabad hosted talks between America and Iran, both. Now, this has raised concerns over Pakistan getting embroiled in the West Asian war. This agreement again came into focus as a Pakistani military contingent comprising around 13,000 soldiers and 10 to 18 jets was deployed to Saudi Arabia's King Abdulaziz Air Base on the 11th of April. This was the same day on which Islamabad hosted talks between America and Iran. Now, media portal Dropsite News has released new details on this agreement, which gives a sense of how Pakistan is caught between a rock and a hard place. The military cooperation between the two nations goes back decades. As per this publication, this was first crystallized in a confidential agreement on the 14th of December back in 1982. A revised version of this pact, titled Military Cooperation Agreement, was signed on the 30th of July in 2005, when late military dictator Pervez Musharraf was in power. However, the scope of this agreement was rather limited in nature. The report revealed that it focused on developing and strengthening cooperation in areas such as training, defense production, transfer of technology, and purchase of military equipment. But most importantly, it did not entail defending each other militarily. According to this publication, Saudi Arabia sought to amend this pact in August of 2021, obligating Pakistan to send forces to its territory on its request to deal with any threat which affects its security, safety, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and interests. While the then Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan reportedly harbored apprehensions over this clause, he was ousted from power in a no-confidence motion in April of 2022. 2 years later, a caretaker government in Pakistan approved this amendment. As per Dropsite News, this SDMA, signed in September of 2025, that's last year, is believed to be a further updated version of this agreement. Last year, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif's remarks on the scope of this agreement stirred a row. When asked whether Saudi Arabian troops will be deployed to Pakistan during a conflict with India, he'd said, and I quote him, "Yes, there is no doubt on this. We haven't taken a name of any nation, but if there is an aggression from any side, then it would be addressed jointly. It is not an aggressive defense." In August of 2021, obligating Pakistan to send forces to its territory on its request to deal with any threat which affects its security, safety, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and interests. While the then Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan reportedly harbored apprehensions over this clause. He was ousted from power in a no-confidence motion in April of 2022. 2 years later, a caretaker government in Pakistan approved this amendment. As per Dropsite News, this SDMA signed in September of 2025, that's last year, is believed to be a further updated version of this agreement. Last year, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif's remarks on the scope of this agreement stirred a row. When asked whether Saudi Arabian troops will be deployed to Pakistan during a conflict with India, he'd said, and I quote him, "Yes, there is no doubt on this. We haven't taken a name of any nation, but if there is an aggression from any side, then it would be addressed jointly. It is not an aggressive defense pact." But Dropsite News stated that the military pact does not impose a reciprocal obligation on Riyadh to defend Pakistan. For instance, Saudi Arabia has not provided any material assistance to Pakistan in its recent war with Afghanistan.
They want their airplane
also
back.
Important to note is that India and Saudi Arabia's defense ties are on the rise. They have a joint committee on defense cooperation as well as an MOU on intelligence sharing. Now, another aspect of the Saudi-Pakistan pact has evoked concerns. As per Dropsite News, Riyadh has reportedly not clearly distinguished between conventional and nuclear forces when it comes to Pakistan. Now, this raises questions whether this agreement extends to Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. Ambiguity also persists over the possibility of Pakistan having to partake in military action outside of Saudi Arabia. Pakistan's dilemma came to the fore during the initial days of the West Asia War. Speaking on the floor of the National Assembly in early March, Ishaq Dar had hinted that he had told the Iranians that Pakistan will have to militarily support Riyadh if it is attacked. This assumes significance as Pakistan and Iran share a 900-kilometer long border, with Pakistan increasingly relying on Saudi Arabia for bailing it out financially. Obviously, its military pact becomes even more vital in these conflict-ridden times.
Hold on, where we at? Breakdown, Justice Department, hold on. Justice Department prosecution. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hit the like button. This one, this one. I don't know. That one. Is this one?
The instant fix for snorers without touching their nose.
Hey, stop using stupid nose things for snoring. This is what you're...
Donald Trump and his White House are crashing out right now in public as Iran refuses to surrender. Donald Trump is framing these negotiations with Iran as you have to accept our terms or... Donald Trump and his White House are crashing out right now in public as Iran refuses to surrender. Donald Trump is framing these negotiations with Iran as you have to accept our terms or else surrender now. And Iran just continues to mock Donald Trump. So what Donald Trump just did is he sent Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir, who's the most powerful person in Pakistan, who's acting as basically the lead mediator right now between the Trump regime and Iran. And he just showed up in Iran along with Pakistan's interior minister, and they're there in Tehran trying to basically say, hey, is there any way we can find some agreement with the Trump regime? We know, Iran, you put forward this 10-point framework, and Donald Trump accepted it, but Donald Trump wants to change it now. Is there anything that Trump can offer you? Because I think everybody
Offer.
realizes how close we all
How can I
are
pay my
to this
way
war
out?
escalating again. Now, Donald Trump clearly doesn't have an appetite for war anymore. I think Donald Trump realizes that his folly resulted in a massive military loss for the United States. But Donald Trump just thinks he's able to bully Iran and threaten Iran with social media posts. And Iran's just saying, no, we're just not going to agree to that. I mean, you have Iran's top commander moments ago giving this warning to the United States. I mean, he is saying the powerful armed forces of Iran will not allow any exports and imports to continue in the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and Red Sea. If the blockade continues, he adds, Iran will take powerful action to defend its national sovereignty and interests. The top commander of Iran goes on to say, the aggressive and terrorist America intends to continue its illegal actions in the maritime blockade in the region and creates insecurity for Iran's commercial ships and oil tankers. This action by America will be a prelude to violating the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Iranian social media accounts are posting the visit by the Field Marshal of Pakistan, who's basically the top military person in Iran. And here's what they're saying. If you want a deal that lasts longer than a tweet, step away from the touchscreen. Real diplomacy requires a handshake, not a post button. And it's the Pakistani Field Marshal meeting Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran. Also, Iranian social media accounts are posting this famous video meme, if you will, and they said, Trump, the Iran war could be settled almost immediately. And it's showing the purported U.S. Navy blockade and Iranian vessels continuing to avoid the blockade, while Donald Trump and CENTCOM claim that they've stopped all Iranian ships right now. And so if you look at what the Trump regime's actions appear to be, it's kind of no strategy. It's what? Prolong a ceasefire indefinitely with this blockade, hoping that, what, daddy bails you out, Donald, right? Like in the rest of Donald Trump's life, when he would bankrupt casinos, daddy would come in and offer a bailout. Are you hoping that European countries, Middle East countries, China, Pakistan, India, I don't know, others figure out a solution for you that you can then swoop in and take credit for while you delay? Do you think that the more time you delay, people are just going to forget about it and now you plan to invade Cuba? Right, that's what we're learning right now. Lots of reporting out of the USA Today and others that now Donald Trump is planning the invasion of Cuba. So do you plan to distract from the Epstein files by invading Iran, and then distract from Iran by going back to the Epstein files, and then distract from all of it by invading Cuba? Like, is that where we are right now? So then, as I mentioned, the Trump White House crashing out. So moments ago, you had a press conference with Caroline Leavitt, Trump's chief propagandist, along with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And here, Scott Bessent says, the message that we want to send to all the American people right now, short-term pain and volatility for long-term gain. Hey, Bessent, we're in 2026. Y'all promised on day one, like a miracle, you were going to make things so much better. So now you're saying short-term pain, short-term viability for long-term gain? Here, play this clip.
Well, the message is the short-term volatility for long-term gain.
And then Bessent says, but don't worry, I have a great deal of confidence by this summer. We may have gas prices with a 3 in front of it again. So what, $3.98? $3.99? Weren't you all boasting that you were doing $2 a gallon? Now you're saying the best case scenario is the gas prices may have a $3 in front of it. These people are such frauds. Play this clip.
Do not buy Black Girl Vitamins collagen powder if you don't want these side effects. Number 1, your hair is growing like crazy, thicker, shinier, and healthier than ever. I'm spending way too much time trying to manage all of it. Number 2, everyone asking you about your skincare routine. For some reason, everyone thinks I got some kind of Botox done or something. My skin has been glowing out of control. So, if you're not ready to ditch your 8-step skincare routine, this might not be the right move for you. Number 3, my nails are growing like weeds. These weekly visits to the nail bar are getting costly, but honestly, I have no other choice. They are growing faster, thicker, and stronger than ever before. Goodbye.
So when are we really going to get $3 a gallon gas? Well, I think that's going to be the up to how the negotiations go. President Trump said this morning that he thinks we're nearing the end. The U.S. kept their side on the ceasefire. We've stopped firing. The Straits of Hormuz have not been completely reopened. So we will see. And I'm optimistic that during the summer, we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later.
More from Trump's White House right now. Caroline Levitt said, and folks, I've got great news that the American people surely care about right now. She says, the triumphal arc. We will be building a massive arc in Washington, D.C., everybody. Yay! Here, play this clip.
Thank you, everybody. I know we have 2 very busy cabinet secretaries with us here today. Before we do depart, just one final announcement. As you know, this year we celebrate America's 250th birthday. In honor of this historic occasion, President Trump and the Department of Interior will submit plans for the United States Triumphal Arc, which will be an architectural masterpiece to celebrate our history right here in Washington, D.C.
And more from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who says, service workers love me because of all of the benefits I gave them with no tax on tips. Here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
Well, a couple of things there is I can tell you, I think Kelly's very popular, but I think with service workers, I may be the most popular cabinet secretary in D.C. Because when I show up, a doorman, the not so much bartenders, but waiters, waitresses, they all say, thank you for no tax and tips. Again, I was in a diner up in...
And while war and peace, life and death hangs in the balance, Caroline Levitt is responding to questions about how Dr. Oz said that Donald Trump drinks soda because Trump believes that since soda can kill grass, it must be able to kill cancer, so Trump drinks soda as a way to kill cancer. Play this clip.
Annie.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you and also for the Treasury Secretary. First of all, there was an interview that Dr. Mehmet Oz did recently where he described the president's views on his own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. And if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president's views?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
And then another one for you.
And then she says, let's talk about something else. I saw some reporting that we were endorsing an extension of the ceasefire. That's bad reporting, she says. Here, play this clip.
If you are sleeping in a position like this, you are wrecking your body and your breathing. Chronic neck pain happens when your cervical spine is repeatedly misaligned during sleep, creating tension and inflammation that prevents proper muscle recovery and healing. While it may only result in morning stiffness, the hidden dangers are far greater than you think. Over 54 million Americans suffer from chronic neck pain, but only 20% address the root cause, and even fewer do something about it. Meanwhile, they continue to develop health problems that can gradually destroy their lives. From chronic pains, hormonal disruption, weight gain to cognitive decline, and even
ceasefire, Caroline. Yes, so I saw some reporting, again, bad reporting this morning that we had formally requested an extension of the ceasefire. That is not true at this moment. We've remained very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks. You heard from the vice president directly and the president this week that these conversations are productive and ongoing, and that's where we are right now. I've also seen some reporting about the potentiality for in-person discussions again. Those discussions are being had, but nothing is official until you hear it from us here at the White House. But we feel good about the prospects of a deal. The president mentioned that in his interview yesterday, and it's obviously in the best interest of Iran.
And she goes, thank goodness for the energy dominance we've championed here at the Trump regime, because think about how great prices are, the American people. Here, play this clip.
You expect gas prices to decrease, and thank goodness we have a president and an administration that believes in American energy dominance in bringing down prices at the pump. Look at how gas prices decreased over the past year since this president was in office. It's a stark contrast to the previous administration and Democrats in this city who believe in hampering our domestic energy industry, who believe in importing our most precious resources, who believe in implementing policies that created the worst inflation crisis in history. So
more from Caroline Levitt right here. she starts to say, I think the allegations against Swalwell are atrocious, and any Democrat who knew should be exposed. So stipulated, Caroline Levitt, but you do realize that you're in a White House with someone who is a adjudicated sexual predator found civilly liable for sexual assault. Like, you do realize that Donald Trump's on tape bragging about sexually assaulting women. He says, you're rich, you get away with it. Like, you do realize that that's who you work for, Epstein's bud, and someone, and you're involved in a cover-up of, the White House is involved in a cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring. So I appreciate the outrage about Swalwell and Democrats. This should be a bipartisan issue. Y'all work at ground zero of the cover-up of the child sex trafficking ring. Play this clip.
And one for Caroline, as well as the administration in general, if I may. This past Saturday, I published a video of now former Representative Eric Swalwell in bed. The president's heading to Las Vegas. Well, Eric Swalwell was in Las Vegas in this video. I'm told, according to geotagging, this scandal has erupted now. Accusers coming forward, many others coming forward, as well as questions regarding his extremely close relationship with Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. And I want to know if the administration had any comment on the fact that Senator Gallego seemed to be very vocal about wanting the release of the Epstein files, and yet when questions come to his own involvement with Eric Swalwell, he doesn't seem to want to provide anything.
Yeah, look, I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting. I think it's also quite plausible, as you point out, Jack, that there were many other Democrats in this town on Capitol Hill who knew about his perhaps illegal behavior, certainly his disgusting and inappropriate behavior. And why were they silent for so long? I think those are questions that must be raised of these sitting representatives, including Mr. Gallego. And I hope that the journalists in this room will do their jobs, and the journalists on Capitol Hill will do their jobs to ask Democrats in power how they knew about such despicable behavior from one of their elected representatives for so long, but never said or did anything.
And then finally, Besson says, look, I understand times are hard, but blame the Supreme Court for it. Let's play it.
Just to be clear, thanks to the Supreme Court, some of this money is going back to China. So is that going to affect the U.S. economy? I don't know.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good one.
What about my device getting hot? Dang. Okay, where are we going this time?
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our site at Midas.com.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Marjorie Taylor Greene says what? Oh yeah, he needs to be examined, but hold on. Hold on.
If you struggle with getting your hair to grow, this product right here is one that is definitely for you.
Now look, I want you to sit with me for a minute, because what I'm about to walk you through
This is a different
is
one.
not just another Washington fight. It's not just cable news noise.
Hey, Miss Tom.
What's happening right now between the President of the United States and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve is one of the most consequential
Natural in
standoffs in modern American
Silver.
economic history. And most people haven't even begun to understand why. This morning,
D-Lane.
April the 15th, 2026, President Trump went on Fox Business
And for the
Mornings
boots
with
on the ground
Maria
is giving him time to make
and
some more
said
missiles.
out loud on national television that he will fire Jerome
Thank you for the
Powell
floating heart.
if Powell doesn't leave when his term ends on May the 15th. He said, and I quote, "Then I'll have to fire him, okay?" And then he admitted something remarkable. He said, "I've wanted to fire him, but I hate to be controversial." Now let me tell you something. When the President of the United States threatens to fire the Chairman of the Federal Reserve on live television, That is not a personnel matter. That is a signal to every financial market on the planet. That is a message to every foreign government holding U.S. Treasury bonds. That is a tremor running through the foundation of the most important economic institution in the free world. And here's the thing most people don't realize. This isn't really about Jerome Powell. It's about whether the institution that keeps your mortgage rate stable, that protects the value of the dollar in your pocket, that prevents the kind of runaway inflation that has destroyed economies in other countries, whether that institution can survive being treated like a political football. Think of it this way. The Federal Reserve is like the foundation of a house. Nobody thinks about it. Nobody talks about it at the dinner table. But the moment it cracks, the walls start shaking, the roof comes down, and everybody inside pays the price. And right now, folks, someone is taking a sledgehammer to that foundation. And we've got exactly 30 days to figure out whether it holds. Stay with me, because the details matter. And we'll come back to that May 15th deadline in a moment. Now, before we get into all the moving pieces, let me take you back a minute, because I think context matters here.
Yeah,
Jerome
please
Powell
hit the
is a
like
Republican.
button.
He was first appointed to the Federal Reserve Board by President Obama, but it was Donald Trump himself who elevated him to chairman back in 2017. Trump picked this man. He chose him. And for a while, he was proud of that choice. Now, what does the Federal Reserve actually do? In plain English, the Fed's job is to keep our economy stable. It manages inflation. That's the price of your groceries, your gas, your rent. It sets the interest rates that determine what you pay on your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card. And it does all of this independently, meaning the president doesn't get to call the Fed chairman and say, hey, cut rates because it helps me politically. And I know something about this, because when I was president, I worked alongside Alan Greenspan at the Fed.
Big retailers just banned our lighter, and honestly, we're not surprised, because we didn't build this thing to sit on a shelf.
Now, did I always agree with Alan? No, I did not. There were times I thought rates should have moved differently. But I understood, and every serious president understands, that the moment the world believes the Federal Reserve is just following orders from the White House, the whole system falls apart. Markets need to trust that monetary policy is based on economic data, not political pressure. So here's the tension at the heart of this story.
Let's go.
Trump wants interest rates lowered significantly.
For his
He wants borrowing
sake.
costs down to reduce the cost of servicing our national debt. But Powell has been cautious. The Fed has cut rates twice since Trump took office, bringing them down to the 3.5% to 3.75% range.
What you mean I'm in
That's
there?
meaningful
Oh, in the
movement.
house.
But it's not fast enough for a president who reportedly wants rates down near 1%.
Yeah, he
And
he only paid a $400 and some dollars in
what the president
taxes.
demands and what the Fed chair believes is responsible is what's been building for over a year.
Can y'all believe that?
What happened this morning was the culmination, not the beginning. Now here's where it gets complicated, and I want to walk you through this step by step,
Walk us slow
because
now.
the facts really do matter. Last November 2025, the Justice Department opened a criminal investigation into Jerome Powell. Not over monetary policy. They're not that brazen. Instead, it was about the Federal Reserve's $2.5 billion headquarters renovation in Washington. Trump called it a $4 billion boondoggle. Then, in January of this year, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office served grand jury subpoenas on the Fed. Powell publicly called them politically motivated. Then the courts stepped in. On March the 13th, a federal judge quashed those subpoenas. The judge said, and I want you to hear this, that a mountain of evidence suggests the purpose of the subpoenas was to pressure the Fed to cut interest rates. On March 24th, prosecutors admitted in court that they had found no evidence of misconduct by Powell. And on April the 3rd, that same judge denied the DOJ's request to reconsider. But it didn't stop there. Just yesterday, April the 14th, two prosecutors from Pirro's office showed up unannounced at the Fed's renovation site. They were turned away. Robert Hur, the Fed's lawyer, told them not to come back without Fed counsel present. Trump told Maria Bartiromo he'll fire Powell. On March 24th, prosecutors admitted in court that they had found no evidence of misconduct by Powell. And on April the 3rd, that same judge denied the DOJ's request to reconsider.
The government is banning these $29 adaptive glasses next month, and this is your last shot to get the original military grade.
But it didn't stop there. Just yesterday, April the 14th, two prosecutors from Pirro's office showed up unannounced at the Fed's renovation site.
Thank you.
They
I
were
didn't
turned
see
away.
it. Thank you, Mrs. Tom.
Robert Hur, the Fed's lawyer, told them not to come back without Fed counsel present. Then this morning came the interview. Trump told Maria Bartiromo he'll fire Powell if he doesn't step down on May 15th. He called him a disaster and incompetent.
Yeah.
And here's the piece
He's
I want you to hold on
disobedient.
to.
In other words, he
Back
don't
on
bow
March
down.
the 18th,
And he called him out
Powell
on
held
his
a press
lie.
conference and said he will stay on as chair pro tempore. That's a legal mechanism that lets him remain as acting chairman even after his term expires, if no successor has been confirmed. He also said he has no intention of leaving the board until the DOJ investigation ends with transparency and finality. So we've got a president threatening to fire a man who legally may not need to leave. And we'll come back to that pro tempore piece because it changes everything. Now let me shift from the facts to the judgment, because I think we've got to ask ourselves a hard question. What kind of leadership is this? Let me be fair. If there are legitimate cost overruns on a government construction project, they deserve scrutiny. I dealt with that kind of thing as president. There are proper channels: the Government Accountability Office, the Inspector General, congressional oversight committees. That's how you hold institutions accountable without burning them down. But that's not what's happening here. What we're seeing is a president who launched a criminal investigation into the man he himself appointed. An investigation in which prosecutors have admitted they found no evidence of a crime, while simultaneously calling that man a numbskull and a moron on national television, and sending prosecutors to show up unannounced at a construction site the day before he threatens to fire him. And then he admits he's been wanting to fire him all along. Now I ask you, does that look like good faith oversight? Or does it look like a pressure campaign designed to force an independent central bank chair out of his job because he won't lower interest rates on command. And here's what gives me some hope. A Republican Senator, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, has publicly said he will not vote to confirm any Federal Reserve nominee until the DOJ investigation is dropped. That takes courage. That is a member of the president's own party standing up for the principle that you don't use criminal investigations to coerce independent institutions. Trump's response, saying Tillis is an American, he knows what to do, well, that sounded more like a warning than a compliment. I also want to mention the Supreme Court. Back in January, when the justices heard arguments in the Lisa Cook case, that's the Fed governor Trump tried to fire, several conservative justices appeared deeply skeptical of the president's authority to remove a Fed official without cause. That's the judiciary saying there are limits here. Democracy works when enough people in Congress, in the courts, in public life have the spine to defend the rules, even when it's uncomfortable. Now I want to zoom out for a moment, because this isn't just about Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. This is about something much bigger. This is about what happens when the world loses confidence in the independence of the American Central Bank. Former Fed Chair Janet Yellen, a person I have enormous respect for, spoke at HSBC's Global Investment Summit in Hong Kong. She said that Trump's aggressive campaign for lower rates is the rhetoric of, and I'll use her words, a banana republic. She said she has never seen a threat of this level to the Fed before. And she warned that when governments manage interest rates for the sake of the government's own budget, the result historically is hyperinflation.
Odometer fraud can cost you thousands, but here's how you can detect it easily. It's easier than ever for sellers and dealerships to roll back the odometers on their cars. And you'll buy that car.
Now, Janet doesn't say things like that lightly, and she's right to draw the comparison. Look at Argentina. Look at Turkey. Look at Venezuela. These are countries where political leaders took control of their central banks, demanded lower rates to finance government spending, and watched their currencies collapse and their people suffer. But let me bring this home at the kitchen table, because that's where it really matters. If the world stops trusting the independence of the Federal Reserve, investors will demand higher interest rates on U.S. Treasury bonds to compensate for the risk. That means your mortgage rate goes up, not down. Your car payment goes up. Your 401k takes a hit. The dollar weakens. American families end up paying the price for a political fight they didn't start and didn't ask for. And here's an irony that I think deserves attention. Even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Trump's own man, has now said the Fed should wait and see before cutting rates, because the war in Iran has changed the economic picture. Inflation spiked nearly 1% in March alone. So even inside the administration, there's an acknowledgement that the economic reality is more complicated than what the president is demanding on television. The paradox of pressuring the Fed is this: the harder you push, the less the world trusts you, and the higher rates actually go. You end up doing the opposite of what you intended. Now let me put my strategy hat on for a minute, because I spent a lot of years reading political chessboards, and this one is a real piece of work. Follow the sequence. The president launched the DOJ investigation into Jerome Powell. That investigation has now given Senator Tillis a reason to block Kevin Warsh's confirmation, because Tillis says he won't vote for any Fed nominee until the investigation is resolved. By blocking Warsh, Tillis ensures that no successor is confirmed by May the 15th. And if no successor is confirmed, Powell stays as chair pro tempore under existing Fed regulations, which means Trump's entire gambit to replace Powell actually fails unless he takes the nuclear option and fires him outright. But if he fires Powell, it almost certainly triggers a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court would have to decide whether a president can remove a Fed governor without cause. And based on what we saw in the Lisa Cook oral arguments back in January, several conservative justices signaled real skepticism about that kind of unchecked executive power. So Trump could fire Powell and lose in court, which would be the worst possible outcome for a president trying to project strength. Do you see the trap? The DOJ probe was supposed to be leverage. Instead, it became the very thing that's blocking Trump's own nominee. He's checkmated himself. Now, let me say something fair about Kevin Warsh. I've met Kevin. He's a serious person with real credentials and genuine experience in monetary policy. But even Warsh will struggle to establish credibility at the Federal Reserve if the world believes his chairmanship was purchased through a political purge of his predecessor. Janet Yellen said as much, that the economic...
This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grab a true 16-terabyte ultra-large capacity.
Hey, y'all, I need y'all to hit the like button.
Reality is more complicated than what the president is demanding on television. The paradox pressuring the Fed is this. The harder you push, the less the world trusts you, and the higher rates actually go. You end up doing the opposite of what you intended. Now let me put my strategy hat on for a minute, because I spent a lot of years reading political chessboards, and this one is a real piece of work. Follow the sequence. The president launched the DOJ investigation into Jerome Powell. That investigation has now given Senator Tillis a reason to block Kevin Warsh's confirmation, because Tillis says he won't vote for any Fed nominee until the investigation is resolved. By blocking Warsh, Tillis ensures that no successor is confirmed by May the 15th. And if no successor is confirmed, Powell stays as chair pro tempore under existing Fed regulations, which means Trump's entire gambit to replace Powell actually fails unless he takes the nuclear option and fires him outright. But if he fires Powell, it almost certainly triggers a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court would have to decide whether a president can remove a Fed governor without cause. And based on what we saw in the Lisa Cook oral arguments back in January, several conservative justices signaled real skepticism about that kind of unchecked executive power. So Trump could fire Powell and lose in court, which would be the worst possible outcome for a president trying to project strength. Do you see the trap? The DOJ probe was supposed to be leverage. Instead, it became the very thing that's blocking Trump's own nominee. He's checkmated himself. Now, let me say something fair about Kevin Warsh. I've met Kevin. He's a serious person with real credentials and genuine experience in monetary policy. But even Warsh will struggle to establish credibility at the Federal Reserve if the world believes his chairmanship was purchased through a political purge of his predecessor. Janet Yellen said as much. The Fed's power comes from its credibility, and credibility isn't something you can order by executive action. And here's what I'm watching closely. Republican senators. Tillis took a stand. Others are watching. This is one of those moments that either fractures a party's relationship with institutional norms or reveals whether there's still a spine inside the coalition. The next few weeks will tell us a lot. Now let me lay out what I think could happen from here. Because when you've sat in the Oval Office and had to game out crises in real time, you learn to think in scenarios. And right now, I see 3 roads ahead. The first road is the clean transition. The Senate confirms Kevin Warsh by May the 15th. Maybe Tillis relents because the DOJ quietly wraps up its investigation. After all, prosecutors have already admitted they found no evidence of a crime. Powell steps down gracefully. Trump declares victory. Markets stabilize. This is the best outcome for everybody, but it requires the administration to back down on the investigation. And so far, Trump has shown no willingness to do that. The second road is the standoff. Warsh isn't confirmed by the deadline. Powell stays on as chair pro tempore. Trump fumes publicly but doesn't act. The situation festers.
He is the weakest
Markets
link.
begin pricing in uncertainty. The Fed's credibility erodes slowly, like water dripping on stone. Honestly, I think this is the most likely outcome. And it's the slow burn damage that worries me the most, because it doesn't make headlines the way a firing does, but it eats away at the foundation I talked about earlier. The third road is the nuclear option. Trump actually fires Powell. Powell challenges the firing in court. The case goes to the Supreme Court. The nation enters uncharted constitutional territory. Markets don't just get nervous, they panic. Foreign governments start reassessing whether they want to keep holding U.S. Treasury bonds. This is a scenario where everybody loses. The president loses, the Fed loses, and most of all, the American people lose. Now, my honest prediction, I believe we're heading toward that second scenario, the standoff. But what keeps me up at night, so to speak, is knowing that the president's temperament could push us into the third one at any moment. And that's why I'm urging every American to pay attention right now. The next 30 days are going to shape the economic landscape of this country for years to come. This is not a drill. Let me close with this, because I think perspective matters, especially in moments when things feel urgent and uncertain. The United States of America has survived worse than this. We survived a civil war that nearly tore us in two. We survived a Great Depression that put a quarter of our people out of work. We survived Watergate, when a president tried to put himself above the law and the system held. We survived September the 11th, when the whole world wondered whether we'd give in to fear. And every single time we came through, not because our system was perfect, but because enough people at the right moments chose to protect the institutions that hold us together. That's what this moment is really about. It's not about Jerome Powell's job title. It's about whether the American people still believe that some things are bigger than any one president's agenda. The Federal Reserve isn't perfect. No institution is. But its independence is the reason the dollar is trusted around the world. Its independence is the reason your savings aren't wiped out by political whims. Its independence is what separates us from the countries where inflation runs wild because the leader wanted easy money. I want to go back to where I started, that image of the foundation. You don't notice it until the walls start shaking. Well, folks, the walls are shaking.
Oh, wow.
And it's not because Jerome Powell built a bad foundation. It's because someone's taking a sledgehammer to
Hey,
it
Kane Light, thank you for the
reasons that have
flowers.
nothing to do with the House. So here's what I'd say to every American watching this. Call your senator. Understand what the Federal Reserve does. Don't let this be treated as just another political spectacle, because it isn't one. I still believe in this country.
And yeah, I got one more. I'm trying to beat time, y'all. I'm trying to beat time. I got a live, I think Candace set up for 7:30. So let me get to this one. Oh my. Or do I need to wait? Do I need to wait? No, let me get it out of the way so I won't be up all night.
Hi. Meet Woodger.
Those who connect fragments that others ignore. We are anonymous. We are not a single voice, not a single face. You can't point to us. You can't silence us. We are the ones who watch from the shadows, who connect fragments that others ignore, who remember what powerful people hope you forget. And right now, something is. We are anonymous. We are not a single voice, not a single face. You can't point to us. You can't silence us. We are the ones who watch from the shadows, who connect fragments that others ignore, who remember what powerful people hope you forget. And right now, something is off. Something is different. Because Donald Trump, the man who never stops talking, never stops shouting, never stops dominating the headlines, has gone unusually quiet. And that's silence. It's not strength. It's pressure. It's what happens when
That's
too
why
many
he need
cracks
Pakistan
start
to help
forming
him.
at once. Especially when those cracks lead straight into his own family. Let's be honest, calling Trump a con man isn't new. That's been said for decades by critics, by former allies, even by people who once worked inside his own business empire. Lawsuits, bankruptcies, stiffed contractors, Trump University. This isn't breaking news. That's the origin story. But what's coming out now isn't just about Trump being Trump. It's about how that same pattern, greed, manipulation taking, whatever isn't nailed down has evolved, scaled up, and spread into a full-blown family operation. And if you think this is exaggerated, let's rewind for a second. Because sometimes the smallest stories reveal the biggest truths. Back in the 1980s, when Trump acquired Mar-a-Lago, there was a decorative family crest hanging on the wall. It belonged to the original owners. Just a piece of history. A symbol of lineage. Now, during the time Trump lived there, while he was married into that family, he replaced it with his own crest. Fine. Whatever rich people redecorate. But here's where it gets weird. When he left, that original crest was still there. And Trump, he didn't return it. He didn't remove it. He didn't acknowledge.
Yeah, I don't know why that's popping back up again like it's new. We've heard that, y'all. We've heard that. And this one is I'm trying to find Melania accidentally reveals. Yeah, before I go out, yeah, y'all, let me get the Candace set up. Cause that one, I don't know why it's popping up like that's brand new. Thank you, Mrs. Tom. Thank you, Mrs. Tom. Let me see what else done popped off while we've been live. What might is talking? Breaking laws and policies. Here comes the cavalry.
Hey, Donnie, your hat's on backwards again. MAGA! Is that blood or just bad fashion? No!
Let's go, let's go. Hold on.
Red hat on your heat. White lie stained with green. like a breeze. Healing nothing in the beast.
Hold on, let's go, let's go.
Where did all your
I'm
crowd
thinking he's God,
speed up,
God.
run to the seas. Your
Hold on,
ego's
y'all.
on the. Hey, Donnie, your hat's on backwards again. MAGA! Is that blood or just bad fashion? No! Hey, Donnie, your hat's on backwards again. MAGA! Is that blood or just bad fashion? No!
Let's go, let's go. Oh, I can't show that. Looking in the mirror. Y'all remember he was looking at himself in the mirror?
White lies stained with green, acting like a breeze, healing nothing in the beast. You're just a plastic king. Where did all your crowd take? Speed up, run to the sea. Your ego's on the brink. A plastic savior in a hat of lies. Afraid of the Pope, see the fear in your eyes.
Afraid of the Pope.
And Iran, the blood is on the rise. You're just a toy. Watch the surprise.
Let's go, let's go.
The Pope is at the door. He's standing on your sore. You're shaking in your boots. Everything you touch it rolls. Red paint on the wall. Stick your fingers in the
Shout out to the Legos.
Oh, maybe it's just ketchup on your baby. Gaza is not your stage. Iran says turn the page. Your ratings hit the ground like a clown in the
Hey, K-Sales.
No one wants to cry. The story's getting stale. Plastic king without a trace. A
Look at the devil on his back.
head of life. Afraid of the Pope, see the fear in your eyes. Gaza and Iran, the blood is on the rise. You're just a toy. Watch the surprise.
That ketchup. Y'all see McDonald's? Oh my God. Y'all see McDonald's?
Dead, Donnie.
Oh wow. Said surprise. Get in.
Oops.
Oops.
Your batteries are dead, Donnie. Bye-bye. The Pope is waiting in Gaza and Iran, the blood is on the rise. You're just a toy. Watch the surprise.
Meager.
Oops. Your batteries are dead, Donnie. Bye-bye. The Pope is waiting in the lobby. Back to the toy box you go. Game over.
Game over. You played with the Pope.
A plastic savior in a hat of light. Afraid of the Pope, see the fear in your eyes. Gaza and Iran, the blood is on the rise. You're just a toy. Watch the surprise.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay, y'all, I'll be back in about 30 minutes. What is this? Is that still live? What was this one? That lawsuit was dismissed. That girl coming back. Okay, I'll be back in about 30 minutes with Candace. Oh, well, I guess I gotta. Now, let me double check and make sure I don't know. No, don't go. Let me see what time I set it for. Hold on. What is this one? I need to refresh or what?
I never put it away, it just stays on my counter. This size is perfect for all my prep work.
We're honoring Jesus Christ.
Oh, No. I don't know why they keep Trump's clean up. Yeah, no. Confirm. Yes.
This president this week, and here's why. We just learned that yet another January 6th rioter, who was pardoned by Donald Trump in his first day in office in that blanket pardon commutation that he offered, a guy named David Daniel, has pleaded guilty in a child sexual abuse case. Now, by my count, that's at least the fifth guy pardoned by Trump who went on to face conviction or a guilty plea in a case regarding the sexual abuse of children.
Mm-hmm.
He has pardoned 5 child predators. Now, to be fair, obviously the Catholic Church has its own history of enabling child abuse. But Donald Trump's week on crime spree does not end with that guy, because today we also learned the Department of Justice is moving to vacate the seditious conspiracy convictions against members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers on top of the January 6th commutations they got from Trump on his first day in office. These are people who conspired to violently overthrow the government of the United States. They were convicted by a jury of their peers and incarcerated. They were among the mob of people that stormed the Capitol, that beat cops.
Yeah, it's catchy, very
Donald Trump
catchy.
put them back on the streets, to borrow a phrase that he and his allies would use if they were talking about gang members from Latin America instead of a bunch of MAGA thugs. Are they going to try to overthrow the government a second time? Republicans lose? Who knows? Donald Trump sure doesn't seem worried about it. So you're forced to ask the question, as Donald Trump continues to lash out at the Vatican, who exactly is the one that's weak on crime here? Senator Tim Kaine's Democrat of Virginia. He serves on the Foreign Relations Committee, and he joins me now. Senator, it is a little odd to watch this back and forth and the debate over Catholic teaching on just war theory and theology, but it strikes me as that the reason that he's angry is that people know that the war is unpopular and don't like it.
Hold on.
Chris, this war is deeply
we gotta go to the
unpopular,
Strait.
and of course it is.
Of
You
Hormuz.
go into a war with no rationale, with no plan.
We gotta go to the Gulf.
Southwest and nuclear-armed Pakistan, which has been hosting peace talks. Perhaps not even the U.S. expected this.
Hold on.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In global diplomacy, the most devastating blows are sometimes dealt at the table during a ceasefire process. During the Strait of Hormuz blockade, the Tehran regime is facing a situation similar to this striking picture in the Middle East. An incredible military unification is taking place between Saudi Arabia, located to Iran's southwest, and nuclear-armed Pakistan, which has been hosting peace talks. Perhaps not even the U.S. expected
Y'all
this
hit the
move,
like button,
which shatters.
please.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In global diplomacy, the most devastating blows are sometimes dealt at the table during a ceasefire process. During the Strait of Hormuz blockade, the Tehran regime is facing a situation similar to this striking picture in the Middle East. An incredible military unification is taking place between Saudi Arabia, located to Iran's southwest, and nuclear-armed Pakistan, which has been hosting peace talks. Perhaps not even the U.S. expected this move, which shatters the outdated defense taboos of the Gulf and shifts regional offensive superiority in a single stroke. A cross-border show of force with tens of thousands of troops, dozens of fighter jets, and supply planes. Moreover, this move does not stand alone. For the first time in history, Gulf countries are showing such a coordinated military reflex. While Saudi Arabia fortifies its land and air power with Pakistan, the UAE has accelerated its coalition preparations. Bahrain continues to host the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Qatar is protecting the CENTCOM headquarters. But for Tehran, the real bombshell was Riyadh and Islamabad coming together militarily. That formidable combat force deployed by the Pakistani army to the heart of Saudi Arabia, to the most strategic point of the eastern province, has changed all the balances. We are talking about 13,000 elite Pakistani soldiers who turned formidable combat force deployed by the Pakistani army to the heart of Saudi Arabia, to the most strategic point of the eastern province, has changed all the balances. We are talking about 13,000 elite Pakistani soldiers who turned Saudi Arabia to the most strategic point of the eastern province, has changed all the balances. We are talking about 13,000 elite Pakistani soldiers who turned King Abdulaziz Air Base into an impenetrable fortress overnight. and that ruthless combat fleet whose barrels are locked directly on the heart of Iran. The deployment location is no coincidence. King Abdulaziz Air Base is one of the closest strategic Saudi facilities to the Iranian border. This base in Dhahran is within breathing distance of the Strait of Hormuz. In other words, Pakistani jets and soldiers have arrived right at Iran's doorstep. Now there is a massive joint military force of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan practically one sortie away from Iran's border. The breaking point has begun where Iranian generals, bogged down in street battles and proxy conflicts, find themselves facing a regular, ruthless, and battle-hardened army for the first time. However, what is truly surprising is that Pakistan wants to protect Saudi Arabia from potential Iranian attacks with its most elite military units. The most elite infantry
I thought
and
him
special
and
forces
Trump was
personnel of the
cool.
Pakistani army,
He gave him a
hardened by
whole
years of
plane.
facing terrorism and asymmetric warfare and seasoned in cross-border operations, are coming. Air defense specialists capable of setting deadly traps in the hot sands of the Gulf in seconds, and mechanized armored units that will paralyze enemy lines are also on the way. This striking force, handpicked specifically from Pakistan's 10th and 11th Corps, will be poured like concrete into Saudi Arabia's defense lines. But the real terror lies not in the soldiers marching on the ground, but in that silent, unforgiving darkness of the sky. Those gray, deadly shadows taking off one after another from the runways of King Abdulaziz Air Base. 10 to 18 JF-17 Thunder Block 3 and J-10C fighter jets. These aircraft are not ordinary jets gliding through the sky. They are technological predators capable of instantly detecting even the slightest activity deep within Iranian bases on the opposite shore of the Gulf, thanks to the advanced ESA radars they carry. They are flying headquarters that blind enemy missiles in midair and lock their systems with electronic warfare capabilities. With the PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles carried under their wings, they provide significant protection against Iran's drone attacks. In short, a full-fledged air defense shield is being built between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. A tremendous technological superiority is emerging, one capable of destroying the Tehran regime's outdated, embargo-weathered fighter jets from far beyond the horizon before they even appear on radar. And this massive air power was not a lone fleet consisting solely of fighter jets. Right behind these jets, ZDK-03 AWACS early warning aircraft glide through the sky like giant, all-seeing eyes. Pakistan is also sending mid-air refueling tankers to Saudi Arabia, ensuring the battle can continue uninterrupted for hours and days. The foundations of an alliance Tehran never expected are being laid. Now let's add Saudi Arabia's deterrent military power against Iran to this massive support provided by Pakistan, because there is an agreement between the two countries similar to NATO's Article 5, where an attack on one country is considered an attack on the other. The foundations of this massive buildup were laid behind closed doors, not during the days the crisis erupted. The uncompromising and binding mutual defense pact signed between Islamabad and Riyadh in September 2025 was not just a weapons sale or a joint exercise contract. The partnership clause it contains became the true source of the storm brewing in the Gulf today, the domino that shook Iran. Therefore, we must add Riyadh's military capabilities to the tens of thousands of troops and dozens of aircraft Pakistan has deployed to Saudi Arabia. The active personnel strength of the Saudi armed forces is approximately 230,000. More than 300 modern F-15SA, F-16, and Typhoon fighter jets serve in the country's air force. We must also not overlook the flawless steel net drawn across the sky, consisting of Patriot, THAAD, and SAMP-T batteries scanning the horizon. This strong defense network creates a multi-layered umbrella against Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks. U.S. forces also directly contribute to this equation. F-35 and F-15 fleets stationed at Prince Sultan Air Base work integrated with Saudi air defenses. The U.S. military presence on Saudi soil stands between 3,000 and 4,000, with rotational troops as well. So, a trio of Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and the United States is forming before us. Isn't the picture forming in the Gulf clearer now? All this multi-billion-dollar Saudi technological infrastructure has merged with Pakistan's aggressive, uncompromising, and warrior-like air engagement mindset. The immense range of Saudi deadly accuracy of Pakistani missiles have become a single entity. The U.S., on the other hand, has opened the Gulf umbrella for this joint force in the region. This picture, reflecting on the giant screens in the underground bunkers of Tehran's generals, is not just a tactical disadvantage. This is a complete psychological collapse, a potential that could trigger the crumbling of Iran's military arrogance. Iran suddenly found itself barrel to barrel, not only with the monarchies of the Gulf, but also with a neighboring nuclear-armed massive war machine. Now, a single Iranian drone trying to infiltrate Saudi airspace or a single ballistic missile fired could face the ruthless and disproportionate retaliation of not just Riyadh, but Islamabad as well. In other words, a flawless, deadly, and irreversible geostrategic trap has formed in the region. The Iranian propaganda that for years portrayed Riyadh as a paper tiger, reliant on U.S. protection, flush with cash, but weak in military intellect, has been shattered to pieces. However, the Saudi mindset was not shallow enough to think it could win this war merely by piling planes into the sky or stacking rifles on the ground. Great wars are won not with the explosive sounds of missiles, but with the silent sounds of collapsing economies. We saw this with the scenes of the global oil crisis during the Iran crisis. We know of Iran's infamous energy blackmail, where it has held the global economy hostage for years, shouting, "I will close the strait and plunge you all into darkness." Riyadh was simultaneously paralyzing this very arrogance, this asymmetric blackmail, meters beneath the desert itself. When the calendar showed April 8th, Tehran thought it was attacking in the intoxication of a cheap victory. Iran's suicide drones and ballistic missiles made a relentless dive into what was supposedly Saudi Arabia's energy heart, the MEMPHIS and Blockade facilities. The critical pump stations of the East-West pipeline were hit and massive fireballs rose into the sky. The picture in the initial moments of the attack was grim. A daily oil capacity of 1.3 million barrels was completely wiped from the system in that moment. Production at the facilities had effectively halted. Tehran assumed it had severed Riyadh's jugular vein, brought the Saudi economy to its knees, and plunged global markets into chaos. Just 4 days later, Riyadh responded to Iran's cheap and shallow asymmetric show with the ice-cold, calculated, and ruthless face of military engineering. On April 12th, the Saudi Energy Ministry didn't just quietly clear the rubble at the facilities, it awakened at full capacity that steel monster which shakes the entire global energy equation to its core and multiplies Iran's dominance over the Strait. Irreversible geostrategic trap has formed in the region. The Iranian propaganda that for years portrayed Riyadh as a paper tiger, reliant on U.S. protection, flush with cash, but weak in military intellect, has been shattered to pieces. However, the Saudi mindset was not shallow enough to think it could win this war merely by piling planes into the sky or stacking rifles on the ground. Great wars are won not with the explosive sounds of missiles, but with the silent sounds of collapsing economies. We saw this with the scenes of the global oil crisis during the Iran crisis. We know of Iran's infamous energy blackmail, where it has held the global economy hostage for years, shouting, "I will close the strait and plunge you all into darkness." Riyadh was simultaneously paralyzing this very arrogance, this asymmetric blackmail, meters beneath the desert itself. When the calendar showed April 8th, Tehran thought it was attacking in the intoxication of a cheap victory. Iran's suicide drones and ballistic missiles made a relentless dive into what was supposedly Saudi Arabia's energy heart, the MEMPHIS and Blockade facilities. The critical pump stations of the East-West pipeline were hit and massive fireballs rose into the sky. The picture in the initial moments of the attack was grim. A daily oil capacity of 1.3 million barrels was completely wiped from the system in that moment. Production at the facilities had effectively halted. Tehran assumed it had severed Riyadh's jugular vein, brought the Saudi economy to its knees, and plunged global markets into chaos. Just 4 days later, Riyadh responded to Iran's cheap and shallow asymmetric show with the ice-cold, calculated, and ruthless face of military engineering. On April 12th, the Saudi Energy Ministry didn't just quietly clear the rubble at the facilities, it awakened at full capacity that steel monster which shakes the entire global energy equation to its core and multiplies Iran's dominance over the Strait by zero. Namely, we are talking about the East-West oil pipeline. This is a massive vein originating from the fields of the eastern province on the Gulf Coast, dangerous and constantly within the range of Iranian missiles. This remarkable line runs hundreds of kilometers beneath the desert through a safe and deep route where Iran's radars and missiles can never reach, and then extends to the Red Sea coast in the west, to the port of Yanbu, a complete strategic bypass line. But what is truly remarkable is not the locations of this oil route, but how much energy it carries. Pushing the boundaries of engineering, the capacity was raised to an unimaginable level, exactly 7 million barrels a day. This figure is not just ordinary news of a daily production increase. It is a geostrategic lasso that completely takes the crisis-ridden waters of the Strait of Hormuz, where Iranian speedboats roam freely, out of the equation. It appears that the construction of a massive steel wall has begun, one that shoves Iran's threat of leaving the world without oil right back down Tehran's own throat. The message Riyadh delivered to Tehran's threats that day was very clear and very ruthless. Even if the Gulf goes up in flames, even if Iran sets the sea on fire, Saudi oil will quietly skirt around that fire, exit through the Red Sea, and reach global markets. This symbolic rhetoric is slowly turning into reality on the ground. But the geopolitical nightmare awaiting Tehran did not consist solely of this massive move by Riyadh. On the other side of the Gulf, the United Arab Emirates also began to secure itself against Tehran's energy threats. Abu Dhabi, constantly in the crosshairs of Iran's missiles and threatened in every crisis, had quietly commissioned a multi-billion-dollar alternative jugular vein. The Habshan-Fujairah oil pipeline, 380 kilometers long and built for $4.2 billion, carries between 1.5 and 1.8 million barrels of oil per day directly into the open and safe waters of the Gulf of Oman to the port of Fujairah, without a single drop touching the narrow and dark waters of the Strait of Hormuz. But the truly devastating aspect of this line is not the volume of oil it carries, its length, or the multi-billion-dollar cost of its construction. The real devastation, the detail that drives Tehran crazy, is hidden in the bitter diplomatic irony behind this steel line. It is alleged that Chinese companies themselves were involved in the construction of this pipeline, laying those massive steel pipes in the desert with their own hands. Isn't Beijing the only major power Iran leans on in the international arena? The biggest buyer of its oil, its supposedly most loyal and unshakable ally. Surprising. Tehran's most trusted ally had built with its own hands the multi-billion-dollar infrastructure required for the Gulf Arabs to escape Iran's blackmail. Such a humiliating and intriguing face of diplomacy, global interest, and the power of money has rarely been seen in modern history. The details that will shock Iran are not limited to these. The UAE publicly declared on March 27th that it is ready to join the coalition. Jebel Ali Port was allocated for coalition logistics. Al Dhafra base is open to U.S. forces. It is no surprise the country took such military precautions because on April 8th, Iran launched an attack on the UAE with 17 ballistic missiles and 35 drones. The Habshan gas complex and the Fujairah oil terminal were targeted. Following this attack, the UAE requested a resolution from the UN Security Council, including the authorization of force. In other words, Abu Dhabi is now moving beyond a defensive posture, and just like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, is forming a deterrent shield against Iran, not only in the energy sector, but in the military sense as well. Bahrain is also one of these countries. It is one of the most important Gulf states exposed to Iran's drones and missiles.
Inside the Silver Star survival package, you'll find a covert, all-in-one solar briefcase generator called the Alpha Case Elite. It's
The U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters is stationed in this small island nation, and Bahrain has mobilized all its resources to protect this base. Kuwait is also displaying a stance based on joint military cooperation with the U.S. against Iran, as the country's oil facilities and water treatment infrastructure were targeted. For this reason, Ali Al Salem Air Base is open to the U.S. Qatar is following the same strategy against Iran. The U.S. CENTCOM headquarters at Al Udeid Base is under full protection. Looked at individually, perhaps none of these countries alone would be a decisive force against Iran, but together they form a massive umbrella. Bases, ports, radar networks, air defense systems, and logistical lines are practically all becoming interconnected. This joint defense architecture initiated by Pakistan and Saudi Arabia in recent days is gradually spreading across the entire Gulf. On the Iranian side, the situation is not very encouraging. The Tehran regime is besieged not only militarily, but also economically. Moreover, it stands largely alone in the diplomatic arena. Russia is busy with its own war. China does not want to ruin its relations with the Gulf in order to protect its energy supply chain. Even Oman, seen as the Gulf country with the best relations with Iran, is maintaining a cautious silence. Iran's regional proxy forces, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iraqi militias are still factors, but this proxy network is not capable of countering the direct military threat of the Gulf. Asymmetric warfare cannot break a conventional siege. The Tehran regime is experiencing the deepest strategic isolation in its history. Looking at all these developments, it is clear that April 2026 is a breaking point in the balance of power in the Middle East. Pakistan's deployment of 13,000 troops to Saudi Arabia is the first major implementation of the 2025 Defense Pact and the most tangible strengthening of the Gulf front in the war with Iran. The joint military reflex of the Gulf countries is giving birth to a new collective security architecture in the region. And pipelines made of steel are sending Iran's strongest strategic card, the Hormuz blackmail, to the dustbin of history. If Iran cannot find a way out to break this multi-front siege, the Tehran regime could face the heaviest economic and military pressure in its history in the coming weeks. But by the nature of war, a cornered actor is the most dangerous actor. Iran's speedboats, drones, and ballistic missiles could still spark a fire. In short, the chess game currently being played in the Gulf waters has reached a stage where every move can have irreversible consequences. Do you think this massive military unification will force Iran to back down? Or will Tehran show an even more aggressive reflex as it is cornered?
Joe.
Don't forget to share your thoughts
Yeah,
in the
I'll be
comments.
back.
Thank you for choosing.
Let me get to Candace. I'll be back. Hit the like button.